You don't exist. Take a perk and a talk of that shit. Money swallowed like sis. Dead up perfect in the kid. Got a billion who sang on my head. Look up better put on the road I just spent. I know we got $1 million. The devil that shit ain't not cheaper again.
Hello and welcome back, fellow anime lovers, to MangaMuse. I am delighted to have you join us once again in the world of fanfiction and fantasy. This is the second part of What If Deku Enters Aquaman? Special note, this fanfic is written in a masterpiece of Autistic-Grizzly on FANFICTIONnet. Do check and support the author too. Now smash the like, share and subscribe button for more. Also press the bell icon so that you never miss such great parts. Thanks for the introduction. Now let's dive into the world. Now just because you are here doesn't mean it will all be goofing off and fun times, Aizawa said as he looked at the class who were in their school swimsuits and stood tall. Now there will be some laid-back exercises and some downtime. But most of this will be specialized training, Usui and Midoriya namely, but for the rest of you will be training on the sand and rocks to help with different environmental situations. Now I'm just here to supervise while All Might and Lifeguard will be here training you. Yes sir, they all said. Now start sprinting, no quirks 20 laps, Aizawa said. Yes sir, they all said running down the beach before heading back up and continuing to do 20 laps before they stopped, heavily panting. Aizawa looked at them and waited until they caught their breath and then asked them to do it again, making the kids groan. You're tired, I get it. So that is why after this combat training you can have some time off, All Might said as they reached the half-day point. But that's only because you've done so well in the water and sand training exercises. Now today we'll be focusing on hand-to-hand combat techniques. So everyone partner up and start sparring, Lifeguard said as everyone partnered up and started to train in hand-to-hand combat techniques. Rise your arms higher, Uraka. Hagakure, make sure you tell your opponent where you're striking, All Might said looking at all of the student. Whoa, Bakugou said as he was flattened by Izuku. Izuku stood back up as he stretched before Bakugou got up and held a boxer's pose. What you got, Kaken? Izuku asked. I'll show you what I've got, Deku, Bakugou shouted as he blocked every punch and kick Bakugou tried to send his way. Whoa, what kind of moves are those? Zero asked. Atlantean martial arts, I'm guessing, Sato said. So I wonder how long until he's flat on his back again, Shoji asked. I'd give him 2 minutes, Hagakure said. I'll give you one, Ashido said before Bakugou was face up on the ground again. I win, Ashido said. Damn it, what do you want? Hagakure said. You're trading with me for dishes tonight, Ashido said. Deal, Hagakure said. Don't worry, it's just for one night, Hagakure said before she was swept off her feet by her acid-using friend. Soon the training was over, and they were able to go off and do what they wanted. Most of the girls splashed around in the waves while the guys headed for the pier and started to do a spot of. Izuku just went for a walk along the beach. Something was off, like a feeling in his gut sang out to him, but what it was he didn't know. But whatever it was, he was going to find it. What is it? What is here? Izuku asked. Midoriya? Yaoyorozu asked. Oh yeah, Yoyoro, what are you doing? Izuku asked, turning around and pulled up the hood on his shirt to avoid seeing that Yaoyorozu was mostly naked, her top off to the side. Yaoyorozu quickly threw a blanket around her like a cape and stood up. It appeared that my costume left me with some big tan lines, so I was topless to even it out slightly, she said. So what are you doing here? She asked. A gut feeling something is drawing me here, and I don't know what it is, Izuku said. What's it like, being part Atlantean? Yaoyorozu asked. Not bad, you can live underwater as well as talk. I'm super fast in the water. Durability, strength, endurance are beyond that of an average human. Problem is we can't be that far away from water for long, and only a select few can breathe on land and in the water. I seem to be one of those. Plus, those skilled enough can actually telepathically communicate with sea life. So did you want some company? Yaoyorozu asked. If you want to join in, Izuku said. Sure, let me just, Yaoyorozu said as she pulled up top back on and grabbed the blanket and walked with Izuku smiled before the two teenagers walked off, a slight bush on their cheeks. I think I like him, her, they thought as they left footprints in the sand. The mermaid slowly woke up after realizing she was no longer on the surface. Oh no, I must have fallen asleep. They will be here soon, she said as she swam up to the surface. Breaching the water, she looked around before spotting the boys fishing. Hey, hey down here, you need to run, you're in danger, she shouted. She then heard a response, one she couldn't understand. No, they couldn't understand, she whimpered. Run, danger coming. She tried around, only to get the same response. She looked around hoping, but it was useless, they couldn't understand her. She looked down and just sunk to the bottom of the ocean. I'm sorry, she said. Hey, are you okay? A voice asked, making the mermaid look up. You can understand me? The mermaid asked, seeing Izuku. Yes, now why are you here? Izuku asked. Where are these stupid fish? Bakugou asked. Hey, calm down. They'll come, you just got to wait, Kirishima said. Hey guys, what's that? Ojiro asked as a girl popped up of the water, looking around until she spotted them and shouted something. What language was that? Siro asked. Hey, can you understand us? Kaminari asked, but they got another answer they couldn't understand. Speak Japanese, damn it, Bakugou snapped. Bakugou, gently, she's upset, Kirishima said as the girl sunk beneath the waves. What's going on? Izuku asked as he and Yaoyorozu walked up. Just someone trying to tell us something, but we couldn't understand them. Where? Izuku asked as he got onto the railing of the dock. Just a couple of meters in front of us, Siro said. Okay, Izuku said as he jumped into the water. Dude's gutsy, I'll tell you that much, Kirishima said. Once in the water, Izuku looked around. I'm so sorry, a voice said. Turning to his left, Izuku saw a mermaid. She had long ocean blue hair with shindig aquamarine eyes. Her tail was composed of sky blue scales with dark magenta tail fins. She also wore a bra that looked like his scale mail shirt, only composed of purple shells. Hey, are you okay? Izuku asked. You can understand me? The mermaid asked. Yes, now why are you here? Izuku asked. I am here because of a threat coming. The new ocean master has sent a platoon of dark reef soldiers to come and attack your class. But that is not the biggest concern, the mermaid said. What is? Izuku asked. The dark reef is being led by Black Manta and Nerum. I think that's his name is with them, she said. What you mean Black Manta has teamed up with Nana the king shark? Izuku asked, spooked. He took a couple of seconds to panic before his mind snapped into a different way of thinking. Reaching into his pocket, Izuku produced a jade pendant that was like the symbol of the Atlantis royal family. Take this and show it to my father and tell him about the attack, Izuku said. But they won't listen to me, the mermaid said. They will if you show them this, Izuku said, handing the mermaid the pendant. Now please go without delay. My prince, but before I go allow me to gift you my name. Oceania, I'm from Poseidonis, she said, bowing. Nice to meet Oceania. Now please tell me how long do I have? Izuku asked. They were a day behind me, but for all I know it could be from 10 minutes to an hour away, Oceania said. Go, please. I'll warn my friends, Izuku said. Yes, my prince, Oceania said, bowing before swimming off. Izuku looked around nervous. So what did she want? Kirishima said as Izuku walked out of the water. Did you get a feel? Minta said. Gross, you grape goblin, Ashido said. Guys, we're about to be attacked, Izuku said. Wait, what? Kirishima asked. The dark ref, Izuku said. And they are? Siro asked. A group of traders from Atlantis, and most of them work for one guy, Black Manta. But that is not the worst of it, Izuku said. What is? Yaoyorozu asked. Nana Aka King Shark, Izuku said. And he would be? Bakugou asked. A 8 feet tall walking human shark hybrid who is insanely strong, Izuku said. I can see how that's the problem, Kaminari said. No, that's one of the problems, Izuku said. What's the major problem? Siro asked. Hey guys, Ashido said as men wearing dark gray armor walked out of the surf. I think that is. Something's wrong, All Might said. So you feel it as well, Aizawa said. Yeah, I do, All Might said. What's going on? Lifeguard asked as she looked around with the other teachers. But once their backs were turned, 2 large tendrils of water came up and surrounded their heads, making Lifeguard turn around and hold out her hands, increasing the size of the tendrils. What are you doing, Lifeguard? Aizawa asked. Oh, it's simple. I'm taking out the 2 biggest threats to this plane that my mast has devised. Who are you? All Might asked, struggling. Oh, that's simple. The teacher you call Lifeguard has been rotting in a cell we made specifically for the air breather. As for who I am Hela, princess of Zebel, daughter of Nereus, she said, But you can call me Siren, she said as she finally knocked out the teachers before she walked away as she changed into a red costume. Okay, so who is this guy? Kirishima asked as a man walked out of the water. The only difference is instead of the finned helms with orange lenses, this man wore a helmet with red glowing big eyes. That is Black Manta, one of my father's greatest enemies. But what is he here for? Izuku said. That's right, Black Manta said as he pulled out a spear. What's he after? Ashido asked. Me, Izuku said. Yes, you are our target, Black Manta said. But how did you know to come here? Kirishima asked. You planned this, didn't you? Ida asked. Indeed, everything from the attack on the Asiya, the media rushing in through the destroyed gate. This camp was all planned beforehand, Black Manta said. How? Izuku asked. That would be me, Siren said, walking over. Hila? Izuku asked. You were in on this. And she is? Bakugou asked. One of the twin princesses of Zebel, and the sister of the queen of Atlantis, Mira, Izuku said. Correct. As to why, well, I was hoping to get Mira to surrender her role of Queen of Atlantis to me, but I thought why not add in some extra suffering and help Black Manta kill his second royal prince, Siren smirked. Second prince? Kaminari asked. Indeed, I killed the king's firstborn, and now I will kill the king's bastard, Black Manta said as he fired his eye-beams at the group. Get down, Izuku said as they all ducked as the red energy beams flew over their heads. Ashido panicked as the beam skimmed her horns slightly. Izuku growled as he looked up and saw that Black Manta's forces were closing in. I got this, Kirishima said, using his hardening quirk to block some of the energy blasts. And since these guys need water to breathe, I'll help too, Kaminari said, sparking his hands before blasting the troops with electricity. What gives? He asked before Izuku grabbed him and pulled him down as more energy bolts flew at them. Their armor must insulate them, Izuku said. So what should we do? Ashido asked. Die, Black Manta said as he fired more eye-beams at the group. Kirishima dashed out and tried to punch Black Manta, only for a massive hand to grab him and throw him back at the group of student. What was that? Kirishima asked. That's Nena, the king shark, Izuku said as a massive mashup of human and great white shark. He towered over the kids. Shit. He's big, Kaminari said. He might be able to eat all might, Kirishima gulped. Okay, now we have to move now, Izuku said. What, we're running? Bakugou asked. Yeah, we are, Izuku said. Where? Kaminari asked. We have to regroup, Izuku said. Don't think you will, Black Manta said. Oh yeah, why not? Ashido said. Because there will be no help, Black Manta said. I wonder where the others are, Sato asked. Yeah, it shouldn't take them this long to get some fish, Hagakure said. Yeah, you're right, Ojiro said. Something's wrong, he said. But what? Sato asked. Koda, you okay? Gyro asked. We have to find the others now, Shoji said. Hang on if they're in danger. Let me go, Hagakure said, slipping off her bikini and running off where the others were. Sighing, Ojiro picked up her bikini and folded it. You know that has to be hard, Gyro said. It kind of is, Ojiro said. Okay, there they are. And who is that? Hagakure asked as she saw the others from before fighting sea-themed villains and a massive shark-human hybrid. Gasping, the invisible girl quickly backtracked, only to step in water which confused her since she was further up the beach than normal. Why is there water here? She asked. I was wondering when I would be able to get you, my little ghost girl, Hila said. Who are you? Hagakure asked. I am the Siren, she said, gripping Hagakure with tendrils of water and slowly pulled them apart. Toru Yaoyorozu shouted, spotting the invisible as she created a pole and attacked Hila, who conjured a hard water sword and cut the pole in half before using the water as a whip to knock Yaoyorozu to the ground. Nice try, Hila said as she stomped on Yaoyorozu, grinding her heel into the girl's stomach. Now don't be hasty. We wouldn't want to alert the others now, would we? You bitch, Hagakure snarled. Flattery will get you nowhere, Hila said, stabbing Hagakure in the side with the tendril of water making her grunt in pain. You too will make lovely songbirds. So who wants to go first? Black Manta asked. I will, Ashido said as she threw some acid at Black Manta, only to sidestep it, pulled out a rifle-like weapon and fired a harpoon into the rock behind them and used it to propel himself forward, kicking Ashido in the stomach. Mina, Kirishima said, losing his focus before he was fired at again, this time hits. He stumbled back before King Shark surged forward. Bakugou saw this and moved into the path of King Shark and threw up his hands, igniting the sweat on his hands, making King Shark back off. Only for a bit before he grabbed Bakugou and threw him into the water. Kaminari ran up to King Shark and tried to shock him, only to be thrown across the sand, making him stunned. Ashido stood up again and ran, this time skidding across the sand, and threw acid at King Shark's leg, making him roar. Looking back, King Shark stalked after the pink-skinned girl. King Shark was about to run when his foot wouldn't lift up. "Yeah," Minta said, cheering as he plucked one of his sticky grapes from his head and tossed it up and down. "Minta, what are you doing?" Kirishima asked as he bashed a soldier, breaking it as Kaminari got back up and ran over to the soldier with the broken helmet. Grabbing his head, he sent his electricity through the guy's skull to knock him out. He then turned to another and grabbed the soldier's neck and shocked him as well. "Come on, Minta and Mina are facing off against Shark Face," Kirishima said. "On it," Kaminari said. Izuku jump kicked Black Manta, which made Black Manta stumble a bit before the villain threw a punch which Izuku dodged by ducking. "Hold still," Black Manta said. "I don't think so," Izuku said as he tried uppercutting him, only for Black Manta to grab his fist and throw him behind him. Black Manta this pulled out a trident-like spear and twirled it around. "You know, I was hoping for more of a fight from a Prince of Atlantis. Especially one that is older than 5, boy was that satisfying, and to think his neck snapped like a twig. Oh, how I relished the feeling of his bones breaking. The wailing of the queen was magnificent," Black Manta taunted Izuku. "It was a shame that he didn't know about his little brother, you," he laughed. "You monster," Izuku growled. "Like I care," Black Manta said, trying to skewer Izuku, who rolled out of the way and focused his hydrokinesis to batter Black Manta with powerful water attacks. Izuku was barely in control of his abilities. "I'll take you down and then I'll drag you into the abyss," Izuku shouted as he summoned 2 blades of sharpened water. "I like to see you try," Black Manta said as Izuku rushed, swinging the blades at his head before Black Manta ducked and pulled out a marine knife and swung at Izuku, who jumped back, which led into a forward leap with his blades. Black Manta ducked the blade and grabbed Izuku by the shirt and slammed his head against his helm, then throwing the prince over his shoulder, making him a stunned prince. "You've got skill, Prince," Black Manta said. "You too." Izuku was about to go in when a scream shredded the peace in the air. "Ashido!" Kirishima shouted. Mina was holding her shoulder as blood wept her shoulder as King Shark wiped the blood from her. "You taste good," King Shark said. "Hey Jaws," Minta shouted as King Shark turned towards him, only to be rewarded with a sticky ball of purple to the eye. Growling, King Shark turned his head before another was stuck to his other eye. "I'll kill you for that," King Shark said as he used his immense strength to rip them off, and then glared at Minta, who gulped nervously. "So what are you going to do?" Minta asked as King Shark picked him grab and started to increase the pressure of his grip before keeping it tense for. Ashido weakly moved to where after that he dropped Minta, only to slam the boy into the wall of the cliff. Minta released all the air in his lungs while his bones were broken and grinded against each other. He slipped down a bit before King Shark threw another punch, breaking his arms and legs. Minta was now stuck as he was stabbed by jagged pieces of stone on the cliff. "I was expecting a squeak when I punched you, not a crunch," King Shark laughed as he buried his fist into Minta asked. "Minta!" Ashido shouted as she got back up on her feet as Minta took a third fist to the body. Seething with anger, she pulled what acid she could in her hand and crept behind King Shark, who stood there laughing at his victim's misery, at which point she then jumped onto the back on King Shark and slammed her hands on top of his gills. "Take this, you big belly bass bast!" Ashido shouted as she poured acid directly down King Shark's gills, burning them as tears pooled in her eyes. "Take it all!" she screamed out in fury, the blood dripping down her arm, burning his skin. "You bast, I'm going to cook you from the inside out. Then, just to make sure you're dead, I'm going to melt you down into nothing but calcium sludge," Ashido threatened. "Get off," King Shark said, throwing the acid user off of him while wanting in pain. "Impressive, but utterly useless," Black Manta said as he aimed his spear at Izuku, who had lost his water blades. The young prince gulped before watching as Black Manta brought up his shoulder rocket launcher and aimed it at Ishido, who was now on the ground. But he stopped and looked back at the ocean and frowned as he realized something. The Dark Reef soldiers looked confused as well, before a needle of green energy hit one of them, making him fly back, shocking everyone. Looking to the ocean, a group of white-colored armor ran forward, but at the back of them was something no one was expecting but nonetheless welcomed. For there, looking forward at the fight, was Aquaman, and his was pissed. He frowned as he saw Black Manta was about to attack a defenseless girl. He strode through the surging waves, making it look like they were parting for him. "It's Aquaman," Kirishima cheered as everyone felt relieved and started to tear up. "Dad," Izuku said as tears pooled in his eyes. Once Aquaman reached Izuku, who had collapsed after to fight against Black Manta, and hearing the painful screams of his friend, Aquaman just stopped while smiling and ruffled his son's hair. "Good job, Izuku. I'm proud of you. Now let your old man handle the rest," he said as he before stern again and twirled his trident, ending it with him stabbing the tip into the ground. "Aquaman," Black Manta said, scowling. "Manta," Aquaman said before being attacked by a Dark Reef soldier. An Atlantean soldier shot first. "Okay, deal with the Dark Reef and any others here, not a student. I'll deal with Black Manta myself." Aquaman charged forward and clotheslined Black Manta, making him fly up into the air. The next thing the King of Atlantis did was kick Black Manta in the back, causing the marine-based villain to growl and fired a blast from his helmet. Jumping back to the water, Aquaman grabbed his trident and spun it around, making a hydro shield to which blocked the beams. Aquaman then swung his trident, scratching the body armor of Black Manta, who punched Aquaman, only for the fist to be caught and then flipped over the king's shoulder, who then kicked him in the side before. Izuku was amazed as his was the first time he ever saw his father fight, especially for real. Most of the time they were training missions, however the feeling from before was stronger than before. He looked over past King Shark and ran at here. "Hey Shark Face, over here," he shouted. "You little punk, one royal pancake coming up," King Shark said, punching the rock, making it crack in two. Izuku then kicked King Shark, propelling himself backwards and into a cavern. "Izuku," Aquaman shouted as he punched Black Manta again, who got up and fired a harpoon through Aquaman's arm, which pissed him even more. So he ripped the harpoon out and used it to pull Black Manta over to him, and then stabbed it into his shoulder while ripping his helmet off and throwing it away. "Commander Manta, a Dark Reef." "I'm fine," Black Manta said as a back helmet appeared before he got up and drew his knife before charging at Aquaman. "Midoriya," Kaminari said as he ran over to the hole in the wall. "I'm okay," Izuku shouted. "Yeah, well, we're not going to be here in a moment. Sharky's coming back," Kirishima said. "Time to kill the prince," King Shark said as he punched the opening in the wall. "Izuku," Bakugou shouted as King Shark reached around for him, before a loud painful roar was ripped from King Shark's mouth, making him pull back a bloody hand. Everyone was shocked before Izuku walked out of the wall with, holding in his hand was a sword with its blade shimmering like the ocean itself, and the hilt was like that of a saber's. "The blade of Atlantis," King Shark said amazed before Izuku raised it above his head and then brought it down once it had gathered a large amount of water. King Shark was barely able to get out of the way of the massive water blade, which sliced one of his fins off. "My man," Aquaman cheered as he went to punch Black Manta to discover he was gone. "Blast," he growled. "So what happened?" Izuku asked as he and the others ran over. "Manta got away." Again Aquaman scowled as he looked around. "We'll get him next time. Now what about Gila?" Izuku asked. "Gila? What do you mean?" Aquaman asked. "Blast. I wasn't expecting him to be here," Gila said. "Oh well, at least I can still kill a student or two," she sang before something wrapped around her arm and jerked her back. "Huh." "Detroit," a voice shouted. "Oh, fish sticks," Gila groaned. "Smash," All Might said as he used one of his signature techniques to take her down. "Take that, you sea hag," he said, wiping the blood from his mouth. "You've used up your time again, haven't you?" Aizawa asked. "Yeah, I have," All Might said. "Go and rest, I'll deal with the fallout." "Hard to imagine we've been suckered like this," Aizawa said. Indeed, All Might frowned. An hour later and medical personnel and police were nearby. Gila and Killer Shark were taken into custody where they would be placed in special cells. Mainta, Hagakure and Ishido were taken to hospital. Izuku just sat there with the blade of Atlantis in his hand. "I'm sorry," Aquaman said as he sat down next to his son and sighed before turning to him. "I should have seen that they would make an attempt on you like they made an attempt on Arter." "It's okay, but I was not sure we would survive or not, especially with King Shark here as well," Izuku said, "but we did anyway." "I know, this is what it means to be a hero. You can save the day, but it won't always go your way," Aquaman said as he looked at Manta being loaded into an ambulance. "Do you think he'll be okay?" Izuku asked. "I don't know," Aquaman said as he hugged his son. "I don't know," he said, comforting him. Black Manta was now safely under the water in his sub, leagues away from the beach and Aquaman. "So the attack didn't work out as we thought it would," his boss said via hologram. "Ocean Master, I am sorry," Black Manta said, bowing. "Oh, no, it's okay, we didn't plan for that mermaid to hear us and summon Aquaman, but you did injure 3 heroes, one of them quite badly," Ocean Master said. "Besides, it seems that we have found the king's weakness," the new Ocean Master said. "So what is our next step?" Black Manta asked. "Oh, don't worry, you'll know shortly. And what a step it will be," Ocean Master said before laughing out loud. "As you well know, the beach camp was a trap set up by the enemies of Atlantis," Aizawa said. "But why?" Kirishima asked. "What did we ever do to them?" Ida asked. "It was because of me. They were enemies of my father, so they attacked us to disguise their true intentions, to kill me," Izuku said. "No way," Uraraka said. "What about those in hospital?" Gyro asked. "Ashido and Hagakure will be in there for a couple of days' observation. Their injuries weren't bad. Hagakure was subjected to oxygen deprivation and inflammation of the joints due to Siren's tendril pulling her. Ashido and be in there a day long thanks to her arm nearly being chomped off." "And Mainta?" Siro asked, making Aizawa pause and look down. The teacher really didn't want to convey what had happened, but they needed to hear it. Mainta suffered the worst of it. 89% of his bones were either broken or shattered. He also lost a quarter of his overall blood supply, meaning he is in a coma. However, the chances of him actually waking up is less than 10%, Aizawa said, making everyone go silent. Izuku just felt empty inside. He felt responsible because his father's enemies targeted him and his classmates got in the way of them. Izuku just wished he would be eaten by the trench right now. Yaoyorozu and Bakugou seemingly knew how he was feeling. "And also, you are not allowed to talk to any of the press until the school has issued a statement. Understood?" Aizawa said. "Yes, sir," the class said. "My king?" Vulko asked as he and Mira swam up to him as he floated about a reef. "Find them," Aquaman said. "Find who, my king?" Vulko asked. "Black Manta, the Dark Reef, this new Ocean Master. Find them and being me their heads," he shouted. "Orin," Mira shouted. "I know you are upset," Vulko said. "Upset, Vulko? I am not upset. I get upset when I can find my keys while I'm back home. I'm upset when Metropolis Meteors beat the Amnesty Bay Admirals. I'm upset when I stub my toe. I'm upset when anyone I love is upset. No, I'm not upset. I'm livid. I'm furious. I'm feeling like I want to find Black Manta and rip his bare hands off myself," Aquaman said as he turned back to the open ocean. "At least tell me we have his helmet." "It was lost during the recovery," Mira said. "Shit," Aquaman said. "Hey, you okay?" Yaoyorozu asked as she walked up next to Izuku. "Oh, Yayoro," Izuku started before she placed a finger to his lips. She softly smiled. "I believe you know me enough to call me Momo. Plus, you did see me in a state no gentleman should," she said. "Okay, Momo, to tell you the truth, I'm not," Izuku said. "That's the sentiment going around right now. All the school knows is that we were attacked, the identities of our assailants, the injuries our classmates took. Everything were unreleased to the public," Momo said. "Until the school makes a statement. Not even Dad has made a comment about the attack yet," Izuku said. "Maybe he is just deciding how to word it. He is a king after making you a prince," Momo said softly. "Some prince," Izuku said. "I couldn't even stop my brother's killer from getting away." "Your older brother?" Momo asked. "He was my younger half-brother, actually. He was born roughly 2 years after me, and then he was killed a year later. He was killed by having his neck broken. He was barely talking," Izuku sighed. "Some brother I turned out to be. I didn't even know he was alive, and I didn't find out about him until after he died." I'm sorry to hear that, Momo said as she looked up and saw the press at the gate. Can't they leave us alone? I don't think so, Izuku said, but we will have to face them when we're pro-heroes, Izuku said. That is true, Momo said. My queen, Kaldur said as he swam up to the queen as she was in the royal gardens. Kaldur, what are you doing here? She asked. I had heard about the attack on Prince Deku, Kaldur said. Yes, there was an attack, Mira said. I see, it was led by my father, wasn't it? Kaldur asked. Yes, not only that but my sister Hila and Nana, Mira said. Siren and King Shark, are they okay? Kaldur said. 3 were sent to the hospice, 2 with light to moderate injuries, while the last one is unlikely to survive, Mira explained. I am sorry to hear that. If I was not on this quest, then I would gladly join His Highness. All of us would, Kaldur said. I'm sure you would, Mira said as Kaldur bowed to return to his quest for the Quindant. Okay, so when should we issue the statement? Aizawa said. Shortly, Nedzu said. I'm just waiting here for Aquaman. Knowing him, Orin will want to kill Black Manta, Midnight said. Any attacks on the adventure camp students? Nedzu said. Negative, just the beach camp, Snipe said. We were able to grab a piece of Black Manta's tech from the beach, but we're sure what it is, so we gave it to Power Loader to analyze, Midnight said. You gave it to Power Loader? Aizawa asked, shocked. Yeah, why? Mindite asked. Oh great, that probably means she got her hands on it, All Might said. So, I'll check out who they're coming along, Midnight said, just in case. You okay, pal? Kaminari asked. I'm just nervous, Izuku said. About the press, don't worry man, we can handle them, Kirishima smiled. We've got you back, Ida said. I hope so, Izuku said as he opened the door and headed out the gate, his friends firmly behind him as he walked out into a media frenzy with them, all asking questions about the attack at the same time confusing the students. Izuku knew that he would have to face this one day, but he didn't think it would be so soon. Piss off! Bakugou shouted as created a massive explosions. He looked like he was about to aim at the media when Izuku placed hand on his shoulder. Bakugou, easy. Now I know about the attack on the beach camp that happened to us, but we are unable to say anything at this point because we do not have all the facts, nor have we been given the go-ahead by the teachers. Class 1A will then give an interview with selected member of the press. Now if you excuse us, we would like to head home, relax, play some video games and binge on junk food before finally doing our homework. Thank you, Izuku said as the media were stunned at what he said. Well spoken, Ida said. Yeah, Izuku said, unaware of one of the reporters smiling. Not bad, but off the record you could have done better, a woman said as she stood next to Izuku. Who are you? Izuku asked, looking up, seeing this woman's vibrant red hair blowing in the slight wind. My name is Iris West Allen. I know you, father, Iris said. You do? Izuku asked. Yeah, he works with my husband on a pro-hero task force devised to make sure supervillains and other threats most heroes can't handle. The Liga of Super-Heroics, Izuku said. They prefer the Justice League, Iris said. Anyway, I know about what you are going through, Iris said. Which is? Izuku asked. Hero guilt, Iris said. Is that what it's called? Izuku asked. Yeah, it's when a hero feels guilty about certain. They end up saving the day, but things go astray, Iris said. It happens from time to time with all heroes, but for a hero in training to suffer from it is rare, Iris said. I didn't know about that, Izuku said. It's okay, every hero has their rough days, Iris said, but in the end everyone has good days and bad days. So you have to keep on working as a hero to make sure that there are other people out there who won't get bad days worse than the average annoyance or bad headaches, Iris said, getting up after leaving a can of soft drink for the young hybrid who was now softly smiling. I'm home, Izuku said. Izuku, Inko said, hugging the boy. Ease up, Inkai. You're going to choke him, Arthur said as he hugged his own. How are things in Atlantis? Izuku asked. Turbulent, Arthur said. We lost a piece of Black Manta's tech. I think our school's support class teacher has it, Izuku said. That's good, but hey, I saw you on the news today. Good job being diplomatic, Arthur said, smiling before slapping Izuku on the back. Thanks, Dad. By the way, do you know an Iris West? Izuku asked. Iris, what is she doing here? Arthur asked. I don't KNWO, what does she do? Izuku replied. She's a journalist from Central City, Aquaman said. We had a chat, and I think she gave me some good advice, Izuku said. Glad to hear, Arthur said, and remember, you're just a hero in training. Better to deal with this kind of things now and not in the future and feel worse, Arthur said. Yeah, thanks Dad, Izuku said smiling. No problem, Arthur smiled. Now I've got dinner in the oven, so let's sit down and have a nice meal together, shall we? Inko asked. You got it, Mira said. I should be here for a while, Arthur smiled. Remind me to thank her later, Izuku said. The next day at school things were quieter thanks to Izuku's message to the press, but he could still feel a storm of something was coming, but he didn't know what it was. Hey, a random girl with pink dreadlock-like hair said. Whoa, Izuku said, being shocked and blinking. Who are you? I'm the girl who's got the lowdown on the helmet they grabbed from the beach, she said. You mean? Izuku asked. Sure thing. I'm the girl who fully analyzed Black Manta's helmet, she cheered. Lead the way, Izuku said as he followed the girl. It is a shame they managed to grab your helmet, Ocean Master said. It is, but I do have another one, Black Manta said. But for our plan to fully work, we need to recover it and our friends in their cells. But a major thing is to deal with that pesky all for one, Ocean Master said, and to discard this title I have given myself. What do you mean? Black Manta asked. Ocean Master is a second-hand name used by a failure, but a master isn't as grand as what I want, he said. So what is your new title? Black Manta asked. Call me the Sea King, Sea King said as his eyes flashed purpled as he darkly laughed. So this is an ingenious piece of combat guard. Too bad it looks like a bug's head, the girl said, holding up Black Manta's helmet. And you are again? Izuku asked. I'm so sorry, I'm Mei Hatsune. I'm a support student, Mei said. Nice to meet you. Now you fully analyzed the helmet? Izuku asked. Sure did. It's a combination of our tech with an unknown source of technology. And since he was with a bunch of ghillies, Mei said. Ghillies? Izuku asked, shocked. You know the Atlantean soldiers, Mei said. First off, we don't have gills. Second of all, we call them the Dark Reef, Izuku explained, or since they're traitors, trenchers. Trenchers then, anyway, it combines basic scuba gear, such as a life support system, visual aids such as an onboard HUD, oxygen meter if the suit is breached, etc. But the scariest things are those red eyes, Mei said. And why is that? Izuku asked. Because they are actually beam weapons, but what's scarier is their ammo, Mei said, walking over to a sink. What is it? Izuku asked. This, Mei said, holding up a glass of water. Come again? Izuku said. This weapon converts simple and plain water into a beam of ionized plasma, or in this case too, Mei said. How did he get this technology? Izuku panicked. I'm guessing he got it after a fight with Atlantean forces. He could have stolen it, or it could have been a gift, Mei said. I think I know where he got from. The original Ocean Master must have given it to him so he could take down my father Aquaman, Izuku sighed as he looked down at the helmet before feeling anger. I could make something for you from this Atlantean tech, Mei said. You can work with this kind of tech? Izuku asked. Yep. My father was once given a piece of technology by someone called Vulko, so the surface could use it in the future. My father couldn't get it to work. But now that I have a chance to look at some, I think I could, Mei said. Very well, get onto it, Izuku said, smiling. Now I have to get back to class. Izuku was about to turn to class when he heard a student arrogantly laughing. Frowning, he turned to corner and saw his class was being blocked by another class. So how was your camp? The arrogant student said. It was fine, thank you for asking, Ida said calmly. Yeah, right. We heard that you got your asses kicked by 3 villains. My, what will people say when they hear what happened? Class 1A is supposed to be one of the best, but they were defeated, the arrogant student said. Cut it out, Monoma. Kendo, the 1B class president, tried to get her classmate to back off. And not only that, but 3 classmates were injured. Man, what a bunch of dumbasses do you have to be to act, Monoma said before he was slammed into the wall by an enraged Izuku. Midoriya, Ida said. Want to say that again? Izuku snarled. You're nothing but a bunch of weak dumbasses, Monoma said as he was flung into the opposite wall. Ida, Todoroki, Koda, Shoji, Uraraka, Asui, Momo, head to class and stay there, Izuku said. What, why? Uraraka asked, shocked. Because we don't want all of Class 1A in this shit, Izuku said. Setsuna, take everyone back to class now, Kendo exclaimed. What about you? Setsuna asked. I'll stay here, Kendo said. Tetsu and Jirota, stay here as well, Setsuna said. You got it, Tetsu said, giving a thumbs up. Of course, Jirota said. Come on then, show me what you got, Monoma said, standing up and smirked as he held out his hand, only for Izuku to slip behind him and thrust his elbow into the prick's back. The students left behind winced. Knock it off, man, Gyro said. No, they have to do this, Kaminari said. What, why? Kendo said. Even though it's still under wraps, one of our classmates was severely injured and your idiot of a classmate just insult those who got injured. Plus, Izuku feels guilty for the entire incident, Kirishima explained. Why? Jirota asked. Because it was an enemy of his old man that attacked us. Bakugou said as Monoma got a hit on Izuku, who simply wiped his mouth and kicked Monoma in the side. I see, Kendo said as Izuku flipped Monoma. The blonde got up and blocked a punch, only to have a fist thrown in his face. That must be hard on Midoriya, Kendo said as the two fighters punched each other and got up kind of wobbling before they glared at each other and were about to attack each other when they stopped. What is going? Monoma asked as he went down. Izuku realized what it was, so he held his breath. Do you want to explain why you two are fighting? Midnight asked. Miss Midnight, what are you doing here? Gyro asked. I noticed most of my class was missing, so I came looking only to discover that the class president is fighting with a fellow student, Midnight said. Not to take sides or anything, but Kendo started. They started it by bad-mouthing our classmates. You know, the ones in the hospital, Kirishima said, which Madam President here was doing nothing to stop. Excuse me? Kendo asked. Sure, you asked him to stop, but he didn't, and then you let it go, Kirishima said. And so he was asking for a beating from Deku, Bakugou said. We learned about the situation that happened to Class 1, Kendo said. Still you stood there while your classmate and fellow class president started a brawl in the school hallways, Midnight said. Come on, Monoma was asking for it by bad-mouthing our classmates, Kirishima said. Look, I'll overlook it just this once, understand? Midnight asked. Thank you, miss, the student said. Now, back to calls all of you, Midnight said, but you, Mr. Midoriya, I think you might need to talk to Nedzu. Starting a brawl, I see, Nedzu said. Yes, sir, Izuku said. I'm sorry, but they were antagonizing members of our class. I understand, Nedzu said. I also understand that you feel guilty, that you are the reason Miss Hagakure and Miss Ishido were injured and Mr. Mainta is in a coma he might not recover from. Can you tell me why? Because I was the main target and they were caught trying to defend me. Mainta because he was defending Ishido from King Shark, Izuku said. Did you know they were coming? Nedzu asked. No, well, not originally. I was alerted to the attack just before it happened, so I had time to only prepare a small group, Izuku said. But you did alert them, Nedzu said. I did, sir, Izuku said. But you still feel guilty because you were the target and everyone else got hurt, Nedzu said. I do, Izuku said. Interesting. Anyway, you've brought hurt enough about the guilt. Now you should head back to class, Nedzu said. What about? Izuku asked. I believe a slap on the wrist is good enough since it was your first time and you've been volatile about the whole situation, Nedzu said. Thank you, sir, Izuku bowed. So how did it go? Momo asked. Just a slap on the wrist and few questions and comments, Izuku said. And that's all? Kirishima asked. That's all, Izuku said. So what now? We've clearly pissed off 1B, Kaminari said. But they pissed us off first, Kirishima said. Either way, we should try and make peace with them, Momo said. Either way, they shouldn't have disrespected our classmates, especially the one whose life is in danger, Kirishima said. Don't worry, we'll eventually get things sorted out, Izuku said. So what are they doing about the spare spot in our class? Kaminari asked. Hey, why don't we go grab a bite to eat somewhere? Heck, we can bring the others along as well, Kirishima said. Oh, there's this darling beachfront cafe I want to try out, Momo said, blushing. I know the one, by Dagaba Municipal Beach, right? Heard that got cleaned up recently? Was any of that you're doing, Prince of the Sea? Kirishima asked. Come on, let's go, Kaminari said. Soon the group reached the beach. Izuku stopped and looked around at the clean white beaches, the blue sky, the apartment complex where he lived nearby, the giant drums gathered in one spot. Wait. Those shouldn't be there, Izuku frowned. What isn't? Momo asked. Those drum barrels. I checked this place last night and it was all clean. But now they washed up on shore, Izuku said. So, you think someone dumped them? Shiro asked. Maybe, Izuku said as he approached the drums. Be careful, Midoriya. We don't know what could be in them, Ida said. I agree with Ida, Uraraka said, making Izuku nod as he approached them, carefully freezing after a while. What is it? Kirishima asked. Stay there, Izuku said. Ida, do you have your phone? Yes, I do. Why? Ida said. Call the school and get them to send down a hazmat team, Izuku said. Why? What's going on? Momo asked. These drums, they're filled with depleted nuclear materials used to power submarines, Izuku said. Nuclear, Kirishima said as they quickly ran back. Izuku followed suit with his heart in his mouth and lungs rushing at 100 kilometers per h. Are you okay? Uraraka asked. Yeah, I'm fine, Izuku said. Okay, slowly, a hazmat officer said. You kids okay? All Might asked as he, Cementos and Midnight had come rushing to the beach once they heard their students were near nuclear material. It was a good thing Izuku patrolled the area last night and then noticed the labels on the side, Ida said. Yes, I spent a lot of time cleaning up this beach to let some mongrels pollute this beach with nuclear waste, All Might growled. Opening the first drum, the officer said. What do you think it will be like, yellow cake or glowing green ooze? Kirishima said. Probably something like dark blue oil, Kaminari said. Guys, seriously? Everyone knows it will be a clear slime, Gyro said as the officer opened the barrel. Well, what is it? Cementos asked. It looks too thin to be submarine fuel, the officer said, checking material now. Okay, the only radiation in this is low-level alpha radiation. Sir, this is nothing but seawater. Seawater? Why would they hide seawater was nuclear waste? Midnight asked. Izuku realized. Get out of there, Izuku said, making the officer look behind him, just in time for a member of the trench to popped out of the barrel and grabbed the hazmat officer. Shit! The kids shouted and some of them recoiled. Suddenly all but one of the drums burst open, revealing several trench troopers. Izuku was about to rush in there and attack them all when All Might, Midnight rushed down there with Cementos, creating a barrier for the kids. Midnight ripped her sleeves off, releasing her quirk, as the mist had placed all the trench into a sluggish state, allowing All Might to use one of his smashes to send them flying before he jumped back to Midnight's side and stumbled. Midnight quickly caught him to steady him. You're pushing it, Midnight said. I need to, otherwise we're all in trouble, All Might said as the trench came towards them. All Might was scowling as the trench, unaffected by the mist, was making their way towards the beach where the heroes stood. Midnight quickly snapped her whip along the ground to make them back off, only for a brave trench to walk forwards, only to be stopped and looked up as the clouds parted from the sky, making them all fall back to the water. They hate the light, Kirishima said. Okay, I'll give them some, Kaminari said as he charged up his quirk and walked forward, only to trip on his own feet and face planted it into the sand, making everyone groan. But Izuku noticed they were back in the water, so he held out his hand and chanted something in Atlantean before the blade of Atlantis came to his hand, and he grabbed it before holding it up, and it absorbed sunlight. Solar Slicer, he shouted, firing a wave of sunlight out at the trench, who quickly backed off and ran away. The others were impressed at the attack, but it made Izuku go down on one knee. That's the second time that boy has saved my life, All Might said. Do you think he's the one? Midnight asked. I'm not sure how it will work with his heritage, All Might said. All right, class, settle down, we have a few things to go over today, Aizawa said as he walked into the classroom 2 days after the incident. The students, good. Now first off I want to address the little brawl you guys had with Class 1B. Now while you were let off with a warning because of certain circumstances, that does not mean you have to fight them. But good job defending your classmates. Second of all, I want to welcome back Miss Ishido and Miss Hagakure. It is good to see you back in class, Aizawa said. Thank you, sir, Mina said. It's good to be back, Hagakure said. Next up, the decision about Maita's seat has been made. We have been given a replacement, Aizawa said, making the class shout and riot in uproar. Izuku was not happy at the moment, but he had a feeling something else was going on. So he let loose a loud whistle, making the class quiet before nodding to Aizawa, who nodded his thanks back. Now, while we are getting a replacement, Minta will be allowed to join us once he gets back, Aizawa said. That means we'll have 21 students, Kirishima said. So until he comes back, we've been given our own exchange students like 1B's exchange student, so please welcome Cassie Sandsmark. Hey guys, a blonde American girl said as she walked in wearing the UA uniform. Please welcome her, Aizawa said. You can take the seat behind Midoriya, Aizawa said. You mean Aquaman's kid, huh? Cassie asked. What? Izuku said. Don't worry, I'll tell you later, Cassie said as she took her seat. The next item is the UA Sports Festival, Aizawa said. The what now? Cassie asked, loosening her tie a bit. In the age of pre-quirks, there was a massive sporting event held every 4 years. This was the Olympics. It was attended athletes from the entire world. But once quirks started to rise, the Olympics went downhill in popularity. While they are still being held, more fancy quirk-based sporting events are held. And Japan's is the UA Sports Festival. It is held over 3 days, 1 day for each year level. This is also a good opportunity to get the attention of several pro heroes who will be scouting you for various reasons, Aizawa said. So I take it we're up first? Yes, you are. Now class dismissed, Aizawa said. After homeroom, Izuku started to show Cassie around the place as the class president when he stopped and gave a serious look to the new exchange student. Is this part of through tour? Cassie asked. How do you know I'm the son of Aquaman? Izuku asked. Simple. I'm the niece of Diana Prince, Cassie said. In other words, I'm Wonder Girl, the niece sidekick of Wonder Woman, Cassie said. And you've been sent here why? Izuku asked. The Justice League heard about Black Manta's attack, and while they'll leave it up to Aquaman for some of it, they said they would have felt better if have someone watching the students, and I was the girl picked, Cassie said. The League knows about me? Izuku asked. And the attack? Yeah, they do, Cassie said, but don't worry, they won't step in unless Aquaman asks, which since we're dealing with Atlantean politics won't be for a while. No, that's good, Izuku said. A new student? Mira asked as she and Arthur were in the throne room. Do we know who it is? Arthur asked. One Cassandra Sandsmark, Volko said. Wonder Girl? Damn it, I thought I told them not to intervene, Arthur growled. Don't worry, they are merely sending her there to protect them. Izuku is still able to fight himself, Volko said. I would go and see him, but the summit of the Seven Seas is coming up, and I must attend them, Aquaman said, looking disappointed. I'm sure Inko will record it, Mira said. Guess I'll have to settle for that, Arthur said. Nonetheless, this summit is important since it will tell you if Orm is the one behind these ocean master attacks or not. Plus, it will build connections with the other 7 kingdoms of the seas, outside of the trench, Volko said. I couldn't agree more. Plus, Father will want more information about what Gila did during the attack, Mira said. And that is what troubles me most of all. Your father and I don't really get along well. Plus, he kind of resents the fact I have a child from a previous marriage, Aquaman said. Don't worry about that. You know I talked to him about it, Mira said. Still don't like it, Aquaman grumbled. I heard you were in a fight the other day, Cassie said. Yeah, I had totally forgot about that, Momo said. How do you forget a fight? Cassie asked. Well, it wasn't much of a fight, Uraraka said. How so? Cassie asked. The class all sighed. We beat them with sunlight, Izuku said. Sunlight, that's all? Cassie asked. Yep, Izuku said. But the aftermath was kind of fun, Gyro said. Shut up, Kaminari said. Which was? Cassie asked. Don't, Kaminari panicked. Flashback post-trench incident. Hey guys, Kaminari said. What is it? Izuku asked. There's still a barrel that's closed, Kaminari said. Did we miss one? Kirishima asked as he walked over and lightly kicked it. I think we should check just in case, Kaminari said. Stand back, Kirishima said as he hardened his hand into something that could cut metal. Izuku and the others were ready. On 3, Kirishima said, 1, 2, 3. He shouted, cutting the barrel, making it topple over, and whatever was inside flopped onto Kaminari. You okay? Izuku asked. Yeah, I am. But why was there keeping sea sponge in a barrel? Kaminari asked. That's not sea sponge, Kirishima said. Huh? Kaminari asked, seeing that his hand was on a mermaid's chest. She growled before lifting her tail up and slapped Kaminari with it before struggling with her bonds. Easy, Oceania easy, Izuku said as Momo approached with a knife to cut the bonds. Once her hand was free, she ripped the gag off of her mouth and slapped Kaminari. Sea sponge? Oceania asked. They were soft, Kaminari said as he was uppercut by Oceania's tail. Wait, are you saying Sparky here got slapped by a mermaid 3 times? Cassie asked. Yep, I have footage if you want, Gyro said. Gyro, Kaminari said. So who was the mermaid? Cassie asked. A new friend named Oceania. She helped us by warning us of the attack by Black Manta, and then she brought reinforcements in the form of His Highness, Kirishima said. That's cool. So anything I should watch out for while I'm here? Cassie replied. Class 1B. They've got a grudge against, and Izuku fought one of their members in a brawl, Kirishima said. But there might be others gunning for us, Momo said. What do you mean by that? Cassie asked. You'll see, Kirishima said. Finally, Bakugou said as the final school bell rang when he opened the door to reveal several dozen students. Oh boy, Cassie said, you weren't kidding about that, were ya? What are they here for? Ciro asked. They're here to scope out the competition. We're the class that survived a villain attack, Bakugou said. Barely, Izuku said. So now you know what pro heroes look like. Out of the way extras, Bakugou said. You can't keep calling people extras, Ida said. So this is the infamous Class 1A. I heard you guys were impressive, but you sound like an ass. A student who looked like he had gotten no sleep said, Is every hero student delusion or just you? Bakugou is one of our more blunt students. Is there something we can help you with? Izuku asked, stepping forward while maintaining a grip on Bakugou's shoulder. I was saddened to find a bunch of egomaniacs. I wanted to be in the hero course, but I was required to choose a different option. I didn't cut it the first time I tried. But I have another chance. You see, if you do poorly at the festival, then you can be replaced as a student in this class, and I'm the one who will replace that student. You all seem strong, but at the same time you could easily slip up, meaning I can easily take you spot. So consider this a declaration of war. By all means bring it, Bakugou snorted. Bakugou, hush, Izuku said. Hey, I'm from 1B next door, and we've decided that you're nothing but a bunch of stuck-up brats how think they're better than us because you fought some real villains and won, the 1B student said. Keep it together, Deku, Bakugou said. It was probably easy, the 1B student said. Yes, it probably would have since the villains were taking it easy on us. But in reality they didn't easy on us. They took it easier on the main pro heroes, our teachers. So we took the brunt of their attack, and thanks to that 3 of my classmates were hospitalized. One of them might not make it, Izuku said darkly. Pardon my friend, he's a bit upset and still has temporary PTSD about the attack, Cassie said. So don't let his words discourage you. You will be amazing heroes one way or another one day. So let's just relax and have fun. Are you looking to have your spot stolen? The first student asked. I'm an exchange student, so my spot's locked in, Cassie said. I look forward to seeing how will you fare in the sports festival. Ciao, Cassie said, walking out. Please tell me she just didn't doom us, Kaminari said. I think she did, Izuku said. Shit, Kirishima said. Izuku just sat on his bed as he watched the sun rise out of his bedroom window. Today's the day, he said, the UA Sports Festival. He smiled as he clenched his fist. Izuku, are you up? His mother asked. Yeah, I am, Izuku said. Well, come and get some breakfast before it gets cold, Inko shouted. Okay, Izuku said as he left his room. Cassie was standing on the balcony of her hotel room with a cup of coffee in her hands when something buzzed in her room. Getting she slipped. Go for Wonder Girl, Cassie said as she sipped her coffee. Understood. Anything else? She asked. Roger that, she said, putting HR cup on the sink, and then went to her room. In the background there was a news article. There is still turmoil over the villain attack last week. Known terrorist Black Manta is still at large, but his accomplice's King Shark is incarcerated at the Tartarus Maximum Security Center alongside other villains such as the genetically altered Namu, which had multiple quirks infused into him, a reporter said, gaining Cassie's attention. She frowned before she grabbed her uniform and pulled it on, then grabbing what she assumed was US sports uniform and slipped it over her hero costume. "This feels tight," she said as she adjusted it. And in other news, various American football teams have arrived for a series of exhibition matches across the country. Teams are the Star City Rocket, the Gotham City Rogues, the New England Patriots, the Pittsburgh Steelers, Baltimore Ravens, Denver Broncos, Midway City Cardinals, and the Metropolis Meteors. There will be a total of 8 matches played between now and the end of next month, the news said. "Interesting. The must start after the UA Sports Festival," Cassie said. "So I wonder what this thing will be," she said. At the school, everyone was gathered in their homeroom. Aizawa was looking at them. "Midoriya, Yaoyorozu, you two will lead the class out onto the main field. Bakugou, you are going to deliver the main speech. Please don't do anything to piss the school off," he said. "Yes, sir," the trio said. "All right, now don't be late," Aizawa said as he left the room. Midoriya, Todoroki said, approaching him. "What is it?" Izuku asked, looking nervous as Cassie glared at them. "I'm not sure if you're connected to All Might, but you are connected to Aquaman, one of the strongest in the world. While I don't have anything against you, I must prove I'm stronger than you, so consider this a declaration of war," he said. "I agree, you may be a good guy, but sadly I must also declare war on you. But don't worry, I am still your friend after all of this," Ida said. "Thanks man," Izuku said as the bell rang signaling it was time. "It's go time." "Shiro, Ojiro, can you get the banner?" "Got it," the two said as they hoisted the class banner before walking behind Momo and Izuku. "Let's do this," Cassie smirked. Soon they were walking out into a large stadium, each class having a banner with their class designation and a different color to it with their class leaders out in front. Izuku swallowed down some saliva nervously. The group took their position at the right side of the stadium before 1B took their spot next to them, and so on until the entire first year had assembled. Up in the stands, unknowingly to anyone, Queen Mira sat smiling at her stepson, acting as the leader she knew he would become in the future. "I hope you do well," Mira said as the principal started his speech. Mira was feeling confident the summit was going to happen, which meant underwater fireworks were going to happen. It did every time Arthur met her father, which she was glad she had managed to score a seat to the vent. "Is everything okay, Your Highness?" Mira's bodyguard asked. "It is," Mira said as the speech concluded. "Okay, looks like they're about to start," the bodyguard said. "It does indeed," Mira smiled gracefully. "Begin," Midnight shouted, making everyone go nuts. The leaders were Bakugou, Momo, Izuku, Cassie, and Todoroki. They were coming up to the first turn when the earth shook, making them puace before a series of robots stood up and charged at them. Cassie smiled and shrugged before bashing them with her gauntlets, while Bakugou blasted them and Todoroki froze them. Momo was about to create a pole to vault over them when Izuku threw the ones coming at them out of the way. Smiling and nodding, the two ran off just as the others were coming around the corner, when out of nowhere a colossal robot appeared. "A zero-pointer, they have a freaking zero-pointer," Bakugou said. "A what?" the others said. "Look up the exams," Bakugou said as he tried using his quirk to jump over the machine and then continue on. But he couldn't move. Looking down, he saw that Todoroki had used his ice powers to freeze the ground solid. Growling, Bakugou unleashed his quirk. Cassie looked behind as Shiro used his quirk to get over the frozen machines. Once she was airborne, she slammed her gauntlets together, creating an arc of energy, blasting the robots while destroying them. Seeing this, Izuku picked up Momo in a bridle hold and dashed underneath the debris, skidding the last part before the pair looked back. "That was close," Izuku said. "Thanks," Momo said as the pair got up just in time to see Shiro, Ojiro, Kirishima, Asui, and Shoji gaining on them. "Are you two going to just sit there?" Cassie said. The two blinked before Izuku ran off. "Come on," he shouted. Soon the group came to a large gorge dug out of the ground. The students all waited to see what it would take to get across it. "So what now?" Momo asked. "See you," Cassie said as she flew over the pillars. "That's annoying," Bakugou said. "No kidding," Izuku said before the two used their quirks to try and get around the obstacle. He looked back to see Mei, Todoroki, Asui, and Ashido using the guide wires to get across the large gappers. Hatsune skimmed past with her babies, a set of hover boots. "What are you going to do?" Momo asked before he grabbed her waist. Just hold on, Izuku said as he ran and jumped right onto the middle pillar before doing it again and clearing it just after Bakugou and Todoroki. He let go of Momo, who instantly was over the side hurling her breakfast, making the other students and those watching recoil in disgust. You alright? Go, Momo moaned, making Izuku run after the others while Gyro leant down and rubbed her back. Never again. Okay, Gyro said. Finally, I'm in the lead, Todoroki said as he glanced around, pausing only to see the next obstacle was one that had multiple paths. The most concerning one was a large bridge over a large lake. No, I've seen this before. If Izuku gets here, then he'll easily take first place. I have to stop him from doing stop. Hey, Icy Hot, why'd you stop? Bakugou asked. Because I'm thinking of a way to slow Midoriya down, Todoroki said. What, why? Bakugou said. You saw him during the assessment during our first day, right? He was fast in the water. Now look, we have a minefield, a swamp, and a lake. Izuku will most likely use the lake, Todoroki said. What, that Misen? Bakugou shouted. Yeah, he'll be first place, Todoroki said as he froze the water over while giving Bakugou time to get away. Speaking of, Bakugou said as Izuku and a small group of other students from Hurry It Up Icy Hot, he shouted while Todoroki froze the lake before racing across the minefield. Seriously, guys? Izuku asked before wading into the swamp. He walked for a bit, and then he grabbed a rock and threw it at the area where the swamp and lake met, breaking the ice. He then grabbed a mine and chucked it into the clear water lake, while stamping on one under his feet, making him fly up into the air, allowing him to dive into the hole he had just created. Once he was in the water, he noticed how Todoroki had chilled it off. But he also noticed that the water was slightly warmer down lower. So he dove down into warmer water. Then he swam at full speed to the back wall, then switching to go upwards into the air. Meanwhile, Bakugou and Todoroki were about to enter the arena when large chunks of ice crashed around them, making the two look behind them to see a dripping wet Izuku smirking when he dropped something. Have fun, Izuku smirked as he ran off before the object he dropped started to glow. Motherfu, Bakugou said before the object Izuku dropped, which was a mine, exploded. I'm going to get him, Todoroki said. I'll save you a piece, Bakugou snapped before the two went after him, with Ida following them. Izuku had finally entered into the arena panting. He looked up as he smiled before he was tackled by Todoroki and Bakugou. Come on guys, Izuku said. No way, the two said. This is unprofessional, Ida said. And we have Izukumidoriya, Shoto Todoroki, Katsuki Bakugou, and Tenya Ida round out our top 5 inches present, Mike shouted. Top 5? They all asked. Hey guys, Cassie said, waving to them. How? The guys shouted. Flight. It's such a wonderful thing, Cassie smirked, hovering off the ground. Well, that was fun and exciting to watch, Mira said as the rest of the students flowed into the stadium. So I got some popcorn, hot dogs, colas, and the bodyguard said as Mira looked at him and held out her hand, fish tacos. Thank you, Mira said. So how did he do? The bodyguard asked. He got second. Your ally got first, Mira said. Interesting. So what is the next game? The bodyguard asked. A cavalry battle, and it seems Cassandra has the top score of 10 million points, Mira said. Oh dear, so I wonder who is going to team up with? The bodyguard asked. So how did Izuku do? Aquaman asked as he took a break during the summit. Second place in the first game, Volko said. Who'd he lose to? Aquaman asked. Diana's niece, sir, Volko said. Never going to hear the end of it from her. Anything else I should be made aware of? Aquaman asked. No, my king, Volko said, but I think that is something. What? Aquaman said, turning to see a massive Collins-class submarine coming towards him. Why is that here? I'm not sure, sir, but I'm getting an ominous sense from it, Volko said. Me too, Aquaman said, glaring at it. Me too. Has there been anything else? Aquaman asked as he and Volko observed the Collins-class submarine. No, it's just been sitting there while you and the others have been discussing the potential war. This new ocean master is trying to start with the surface, Volko said, frowning. Yeah, he hasn't made any moves since the beach attack. WHZ means we still don't have any idea where Black Manta is, Aquaman said. Even the other members of this summit don't like that, Volko said. Well, they shouldn't. But I have a feeling something is going to happen at this summit. And that is the start of it, Aquaman said, hinting at the sub. Vulko nodded as a guard came up to them. It is time to get back to the summit, sire, Vulko said. Of course, Aquaman said. That thing isn't, nuclear, right? No, from what I can tell, that submarine is a Collins-class submarine that is made by the Australians. It is also diesel electrically powered, if I remember correctly, Vulko said. Interesting, Aquaman said. Okay, so we all ready? Cassie asked. For what? Izuku asked. For the cavalry battle? Cassie asked. Wait, what? Izuku shouted. You're going to be on my team, Cassie said. Why? Izuku panicked. We'd have the biggest point advantage, Cassie said. We would be the biggest targets, Izuku said. Awesome, Cassie said. No, not awesome, Izuku panicked. Besides, I already have a target on my back thanks to that guy. Who, Todoroki? Cassie asked. He seems kind of hot. Not now, Izuku said. So who else am I going to team up with? Cassie asked. Fine, I'll help you, Izuku said. Now who else? Cassie said. Are you sure this is a good idea, Yamomo? Gyro asked as she was looking at her partners for the battle, Todoroki, Ida, and Sparks for brains. I mean, why not team up with Izuku? They asked me and I can't turn them down. Besides, Cassie is with Izuku, Momo said. Hold up, are you getting jealous of Cassie? Gyro asked. No, Momo said. You are, come on, admit it, Gyro said. Okay, fine, maybe a little, Momo said. Don't worry, I'm pretty sure he has eyes only for you, Gyro said, walking off. No, there is another out there who might have his heart, Momo said. I don't know, Gyro said. Hey, can I join your team? May asked. May? Izuku shouted. Sure, you can, Cassie said. Thanks for the bigger target on us, Izuku said. Oh, come on, besides I have news about the tech we've talked about, May said. What? Izuku said. But like you said later, May said. So we just need one more, Cassie smiled. I'm not going to enjoy this, Izuku moaned. Why not? It's going to be fun, Cassie said. Ah, there we are. I think they'll do. Seriously? Izuku moaned. Don't be a worrywart, May laughed. So is everyone ready? Midnight asked. Start, she shouted, cracking her whip in place of a starting gun. We're going to be the biggest targets out here, boys and girl, Cassie said. Well, considering we have a score of 10,535 points. No kidding, Izuku panicked. Midoriya, I understand your concerns, but Takoyami started before Izuku and May swerved out of the way. Yeehaw, who do we have here, huh? Cassie asked as a pair of 1B students charged at them. Takoyami, can Dark Shadow grab that headband? Izuku asked. I'll try, Dark Shadow said as he reached out and grabbed the headband off of the rider, which he gave to Cassie, who wrapped it around her arm. Thank you, Cassie said as the group charged off. Cassie was looking around when she noticed Bakugou facing down another team. Izuku saw what Cassie did and growled, about to head over there. You can deal with him later, Midoriya. Right now he's at Bakugou's mercy, Takoyami said. I agree, thank you for the points, Cassie said, wrapping another headband around her arm. Where did you get that? May asked. How did you get that? Izuku asked the better question. Does it matter? Watch out, Cassie said as the group jumped before a thick layer of ice was created, trapping the groups. Todoroki, Izuku said from the back. Okay, go to the left and then move ahead. I'm going for another headband, Cassie said. I don't think so. I'm taking that headband now, Todoroki said. Fire and ice, an interesting quirk, Mira said. It is? Do we know who his parents are? The bodyguard asked. No, I don't. Can you look it up? Please, you think that I can just do that? The bodyguard asked as Mira looked at him. Okay, hold on, the bodyguard said, bringing up a holographic computer. Shoto Todoroki, son of Injo Todoroki Ake Endeavor and Rei Fubuki Todoroki. Rei Fubuki, I didn't this, she was still around, Mira said. Yeah, I heard she died outside of Keystone City, the bodyguard said. Obliviously not, Mira growled. I'll have someone look into it, the bodyguard said. So are you going to hand it over or not? Todoroki asked. What do you think? Cassie said. Fine then, the hard way it is, Todoroki said. Too bad, I enjoy the hard way. Back up now, Cassie said as his team went back. only to be on the receiving end of something explosive making Takoyami and Mei go flying, but Izuku stood his ground as Cassie jumped on his shoulders. I know. Deal with it, Cassie said as Todoroki's team closed in. Izuku was able to run a bit faster, while dodging an attack from Tsui and Shoji. Growling, Izuku then ran over to where his teammates had landed as they were getting back up. You guys okay? Cassie said as she jumped back into her proper spot as Mei and Takoyami rejoined. That was a mine from the obstacle course, Mei said. So what was it doing here? Izuku asked. Watch out! Takoyami shouted as Ida used his boosted speed to propel his team forward and grabbed the headband off of Cassie's head. Crap, Cassie said as the group rounded and went after Todoroki's team. Suddenly Cassie held her arm up as an explosion went off. Turning to look, she saw that Monoma, who was smirking. That guy has a great quirk. Too bad you no longer have the top headband, but those others on your arm will make a great addition to my own. Think again, Cassie said, smashing her bracelets together, creating another shockwave. This one weaker than the first, but Cassie was feeling drained. Izuku noticed this and adjusted his footing before he set off for Todoroki when the buzzer sounded. No, Cassie said as everyone broke off and went back to normal. Dark Shadow was supporting Cassie. Okay, so we got 3 headbands. Hopefully that will get us into the tournament round, Izuku said. I think we'll be okay, Takoyami said as Dark Shadow had a headband in his mouth. We stole it off of Monoma's team when they attacked. Good job, Cassie said, petting the shadow. Cassie's team had come in fourth with Bakugou's team, Todoroki's team, Izuku's team and Shinso's team. Izuku was a bit put off by Shinso because he noticed that Ojiro and most of Shinso's team were confused. Izuku needed to talk to Ojiro when he gets a chance, but also he needed to talk to Mei about what else she found. He knew there would be a 20-minute break so Cementos could build an stadium. Before that happened, they announced the next event would be the tournament, and it was revealed that Shinso. But before that, 2 of Shinso's teammates dropped out, allowing the steel body student of 1B and Uraraka to take their places. Izuku knew something was up when Ojiro pulled him away, along with Cassie and Mei. Once in the safety of a change room, Ojiro told Izuku and the other what happened. You're joking. You spoke to the guy, and then next you knew the event was over? Cassie asked. It must be some kind of brainwashing quirk, Izuku said. So how do you get around that? Mei asked. I think I might have a suggestion about that, Cassie said. And what would that be? Ojiro said. Does it only activate when he can understand the reply? Meaning if you speak another language, will it still work? Cassie asked. I don't know. This is the first time I've encountered it, Ojiro said. Interesting. I'll look out for it. Now Mei, you wanted to talk about the thing you have been looking at. Should I be here for this? Ojiro asked. I don't mind. In fact, I was planning on bringing more people into the small circle I have at the moment, Izuku said. Who else is in this circle of yours? Ojiro asked. Mei, Cassie, Bakugou, Yaoyorozu, and now you, Izuku said. That is a small group. What about the others you hang with? Ojiro inquired. Maybe later. Ida seems like a good idea, but I'm not too sure about Kirishima and Kaminari, Izuku said. Understandable, Ojiro said. Mei, continue, Izuku said. Anyway, last time I spoke to you about Black Manta's helm, I said that it contained a number of visual aids, such as a HUD, oxygen meter. Now, after looking closely at the HUD, I discovered that it has GPS capabilities, meaning I was able to be a record of where this scumbag went. He mostly stayed around this area, Mei said, showing a section of the map of Izuku which was in the water. That's the location for the tomb of Thanatos, Izuku said. Thanatos? Ojiro asked. A dark sorcerer that fought the original king of Atlantis after the 7 tribes separated and sunk into the 7 seas. Eventually, the 7 united and defeated Thanatos and sealed his corpse inside a tomb. Which is exactly where Black Manta has been going, Izuku said. Plus, he's been making trips to some kind of base in the Arctic Circle, most likely to fuel something. He also has been to Australia, Mei said. But why there? Cassie asked. I don't know, but I discovered something even more frightening, Mei said. What? Izuku asked. I believe I've seen what this new ocean master looks like, Mei said. Are you joking? Cassie asked. No, I'm not, Mei said, but I think that should be seen at another time. Not before a fight in a school tournament. Good idea. So for now you should worry about Shinso, Cassie said. And hopefully you win, Ajiro said. Now it's time for the first round of the sports festival tournament, first year division. Izukumidoriya Curry versus Hitoshi Shinso, Midnight said as the two fighters walked into the arena. Now I would like a nice clean match from both of you, Cementos said as he sat on a throne-like chair. I have to be careful, Izuku said. So Tailboy told you about my quirk, huh? He wasn't that tough, so by that standard you aren't as well. But whatever, bring it on. Contestants ready, fight, Midnight shouted as Izuku rushed forward. Izuku stood on his half of the arena as he glared at Shinso, who just smirked. So what are you going to do? You can't stay quiet. I'll get you to talk, Shinso said. You won't, Izuku said as the pair charged at each other, with Izuku blocking Shinso's first punch before countering with his own, only to have a kick connect with his stomach, making him grunt before glaring at the mind controller. Look, I got a sound out of you, so you feel like talking. Maybe I should target someone else besides Tailboy. Maybe that girl who hangs around with you, the princess-looking one. So what about now? Are you going to talk to save her? This guy is not going to give up, is he? Well, better check out the theory we came up with, Izuku, though why don't you shut up and go get some sleep, you insomniac-looking bastard. Serious, I've seen less supermarkets with bags than you have under your eyes, he shouted in Atlantean. What? Shinso asked, shocked. It worked, Izuku smirked before he started to fight back. What did he say? The bodyguard asked as they watched the fight while Izuku shouted. You don't want to know, but what I want to know is where he learned that language, Mira said. Meaning? The bodyguard asked. He's basically swearing in Atlantean, Mira said. Seriously, okay, good thing very few people can actually understand what he is saying, the bodyguard said. It is indeed, Mira said. Oh wow, Cassie blushed. Problem? Kaminari asked. I'm just amazed at the vocabulary Izuku has, Cassie said. How so? Uraraka said. It's just gibberish, Bakugou snorted. It's Atlantean, and the reason I can understand it a bit is because it uses the same language base as Ancient Greek, Cassie said. Ancient Greek? Momo asked. That's an interesting language to learn. It is. I actually know both modern and ancient Greek since my aunt is an Amazon, and they have used ancient Greek since they were created by Ares and Zeus, Cassie said, or so legends say. Oh, okay, so who do you think will win this? Gyro asked. I'm betting Izuku will, Cassie said. Izuku was panting, but so too was Shinso, who was injured a fair bit more than Izuku since he couldn't use his quirk against him. Since Izuku started to speak in Atlantean, which meant he was pretty sure that Izuku was swearing at him. Anyway, he was about ready to give up, but he knew he couldn't just yet since he needed to get into the hero course. Title, Izuku said, jumping into the air. No, Shinso said. Wave, Izuku said. No, Shinso said. Crash, Izuku shouted, punching Shinso in the head before whipping around and kicking him in the stomach, knocking him out. Izuku panted before inhaling deeply. Winner Izukumidoriya Curry, Midnight shouted. Hey, Izuku said, helping Shinso up and over to a stretcher. That was fun. I agree. No one's ever gotten around my quirk before. It was fun. I wish you well in the future, Shinso said as he was carried off. Izuku just smiled and walked off. Up in the stands, everyone were cheering and shouting at the match, all by one person. Shototodoroki frowned before he got up and walked off. Good luck, Cassie said. Thanks, Todoroki said. You too, Zero, Cassie said. Thanks, Zero smiled. So who's up next? Izuku asked, sitting down the front next to Momo. Zero versus Todoroki, Momo said. Good job out there, Cassie said, but I have to ask here, did you learn that language? What do you mean? Kaminari asked, leaning over. I want to know where Izuku learnt to swear in Atlantean, Cassie said. Garth and Dolphin got me a Japanese to Atlantean dictionary for my last birthday, and they highlighted every single swear word in blue, and for some reason every romantic word in pink, Izuku said. Seriously, Cassie? Yep, Izuku said. Okay then, that whoa, Cassie said, scooting back as a spear of ice was in between her eyes. That was unnecessary, Bakugou said, exploding some of the ice. No, that was a taunt, Izuku said, breaking a piece off. How so? Momo asked as the ice started to melt and break away. He was showing me how powerful Iz can be with his quirk, Izuku said. Why? Momo asked. You remember his declaration of war? Well, this is just him showing me how powerful he can be. But he's only using half of his power, Izuku said. What do you mean? Ida asked. He's only using his ice quirk. His fire quirk is still locked behind emotional turmoil, Izuku said. And you think that he's in emotional turmoil? Why? Kirishima asked. You don't get a scar like that from playing in the park, Izuku said. So you noticed it as well. Anyway, I'm up. And so is Sparky, Cassie said, standing up. Say what? Kaminari asked. Have fun, Gyro laughed. Round 3, Cassie Sandsmark vs Denki Kaminari. Begin. Midnight shouted, making Kaminari rush in while blasting his electricity. Cassie quickly used her bracelet to deflect the lightning while charging forward. Kaminari dodged the flying girl, who skidded to a stop an inch away for the edge of the arena. She then back-flipped away and landed in front of Kaminari. Nice form, Kaminari said. Does that work with all the girls? Cassie asked, smirking while cocking her hip. Maybe, I'll tell you later, Kaminari smirked. I could always find out for the others, Cassie said. Yeah, nice try, Kaminari said, charging up his electricity blast, only to have it skim Cassie's arms, making it numb. She growled before looking up to see Kaminari struggling as blood leaked out of his nose. Not now, Kaminari said. Sorry about this, Cassie said, grabbing him and flipping him over her shoulder. But once you're in the hospital room, you can short out, okay? Yeah, but hurry, because if I don't short out soon, I'll black out, Kaminari said. Okay, Cassie smiled before punching Kaminari in the face. Do, Kaminari said, shorting out. Anybody else think he looked like Saitama when he's like this? Cassie asked as Midnight shrugged as Kaminari was taken to the hospital room. Okay, I'm up now, May said. Remember, this is a fight, not an advertisement of your gadgets, okay? Cassie asked, walking past her. I might do that, but not like I was planning to, May said. Okay, but you do know what will happen if you go overboard, right? Cassie asked. Maybe, May smirked as she walked out. For our 4th round, we have May Hatsum versus Tenya Ida. Begin, Midnight shouted as Ida rushed forward, only to miss May thanks to her backpack shooting out supports. Lifting her up over Ida, when she landed, she turned around and poked her tongue out while grabbing something from behind her back and pouring water into it. Tapping another button, the device slid up until it covered half her forearm. Ida went for another pass, only to smack into a force field. What was that? Ida asked, shocked. An energized water shield. Basically, electrified water is held within a containment area, allowing me to form a shield out of it, May said before smacking Ida with the shield, which deactivated. Note to self. Make sure it can withstand more than 2 hits, May said as she put the shield away, only to notice Ida in the air with his legs swinging at her. Yikes, she shouted, ducking at the last possible minutes. She breathed a sigh of relief, only to see Ida standing in front of her with an evil smile. Bye-bye, he said, pressing a button on May's backpack. What? May said as her backpack's arms shot her out of the ring. Ring out, winner Tenya Ida, Midnight said. That was interesting, Cassie said, looking intrigued, but Izuku was shocked. She duplicated the technology already, Izuku said, shocked. Do you know how she did it? Momo asked. No, I didn't even know she had it on her, Izuku said. But you have to admit it was impressive, Ida said, sitting down next to his friends, but I didn't think she had access to Atlantean technology. She has Black Manta's helmet, Izuku said. So that is where that went, Cassie said as she watched Mina and Aoyama starting to fight, with Mina quickly overwhelming him, even making him perform a cartoon-like face after uppercutting him while smiling happily. That's my girl, Kirishima shouted happily as Mina won the fight. That was the most entertaining so far, Cassie said. So it seems to be our turn, Takoyami said. Yeah, Momo said, walking away. Hey, good luck, Izuku said. Thanks, Momo smiled as she walked off. Izuku's got a girlfriend, Izuku's got a girlfriend, Izuku's got a girlfriend, Izuku's got a girlfriend, Kirishima taunted. Shut up, Izuku said. Round 6, Momo Yaoyorozu vs Fumikage Takoyami. Begin. Midnight shouted, causing the fight to begin with Momo creating a shield to counter Dark Shadow's impacts against her, but barely, as she was forced back thanks to the shadow out of her classmate. Momo then created a pole and tried to swipe at Dark Shadow, who dodged the swings while hitting Momo back a bit. She growled and ran forward and held her shield up just in time to block the attack from Dark Shadow, who struggled against the shield. Momo then waited until Dark Shadow recoiled and flew back in and knocked Momo on her backside. "Ring out, winner Fumikage Tokoyami," Midnight said. "Huh, what?" Momo asked only to see her hand outside the ring. His spirits dropped. "It was a good fight," Tokoyami bowed. "Thank you," she said as she was helped up. "So how are things with the tournament doing?" Aquaman said. "Last I heard, Izuku has advanced to the next round of the tournament," Oceania said as she swam up to the King of Atlantis. "Good to hear," Aquaman said. "May I ask why you asked to get the latest information instead of Counselor Volko?" the mermaid asked. "He is looking into something for me," Aquaman said. "Does it have to do with that?" Oceania asked, looking at the sub nervously. "Yes, it does. In fact, this is the third break I've taken from the summit since it showed up," Aquaman said. "That must be a potential threat if you keep taking breaks from the summit to check on this thing and see how the tournament is doing," Oceania said. "Yeah, it is," Aquaman said. "I could talk to my king about delaying the summit until that is dealt with," Oceania said. "It's okay, young one, and thank you for the information," Aquaman said. "You're welcome, Your Majesty," Oceania said, swimming off. "A tie. I didn't think that would be possible," Cassie said. "Well, it was two fighters with similar quirks," Izuku said, "but I'm more worried about this next fight. Bakugou versus Uraraka. Someone could get seriously hurt," Tokoyami said. "Plus it is Bakugou, so who knows if he'll hold back," Cassie said as the two entered the ring. "Round 8, Ochako Uraraka versus Katsuki Bakugou. Begin!" Midnight shouted before the two stood there. Uraraka charged headlong at Bakugou, only to have Bakugou shoot an explosion at her, making her spin to dodge while throwing her uniform shirt at Bakugou to blind the explosion user. Which didn't work for long as Bakugou ripped the shirt off of his face while blowing it up as he ran at Uraraka, who blocked an attack from the right. Bakugou smirked before swinging a left punch at her stomach. "Come on, round face, didn't you think I took from that time Deku beat me and used it myself?" "Possibly," Uraraka grunted before swiping at Bakugou, who jumped back avoiding the swipe. "Don't think that will work," Bakugou snapped, releasing more and more explosions around the arena. "What is she doing?" Izuku asked himself, but it was revealed when he looked up. Bakugou was smirking while panting. "You actually made me tired," Bakugou laughed before he noticed various shadows on the floor. Looking up, he saw all of the debris floating in the air. "Release," Uraraka said, making the floating stones rain down on Bakugou like small meteors. Bakugou looked calmly up at the stones and held his hand up before creating a large explosion, destroying them all. Uraraka used this time to rush in and slap Bakugou's back, making him float. Acting quickly, Bakugou grabbed Uraraka's hands and brought them together so he could swing a kick into her stomach, winding her and making him land on the ground. He noticed Uraraka was running on fumes, so he grabbed her arm and judo flipped her out of the ring. "Ring out, winner Katsuki Bakugou," Midnight shouted. Upon hearing she lost, Uraraka put an arm over her eyes and started to cry. "Hey now, come on," Bakugou said, helping her onto her feet while slinging an arm over his shoulder. "This isn't the time for tears." "Why not?" Uraraka asked sadly. "Because you pushed me to the limit today, and like I said, I've been learning a few things from Deku. One of which is being a better person," Bakugou said as Uraraka sniffled. "That was a good fight. You show some good ideas, but they just didn't work because they were telegraphed." "Telegraphed?" Uraraka asked. "I could see them coming beforehand," Bakugou explained. "Oh," Uraraka said. "Come on, let's get you patched up," Bakugou said. "That was a good fight, but something tells me I need to be on my A-game, since Todoroki is bringing his," Izuku said as he walked down the hall to the ready room when he saw Endeavor walking towards him. "So you're the son of Aquaman, huh? You don't look like much. My Shoto will beat you and then he will be on his way to the best," Endeavor said, smirking. "Too bad, he's not going to win, and if he does, then it won't be easy," Izuku said. "That's what you think," Endeavor said as he stalked off. "Oh, by the way." "What?" Izuku asked. "I want to check something," he said, holding a flaming spear in his hands as he reared back to throw the spear. "I want to check something. he said, holding a flaming spear in his hands as he reared back to throw the spear. Catch, boy, he said, about to throw the spear when a spear of water was pointed at his eyes. Drop the flames and I'll let go of the water, Mira said. Who are you supposed to be? Endeavor asked. I am Mira, the Queen of Atlantis, practitioner of magic and loving stepmother. And right now you just threatened my stepson, which in turn would have started what could be called a minor war, which you would have lost, Mira said. Like I care, Endeavor said, storming off. All I know is that your stepson is going to be a stepping stone for mine, he chuckled. What an asshole, Izuku said. Can't we feed him to the trench and just be done with him? Izuku, we can't do that, Mira said, horrified. Why not? Izuku asked. It would be cruel and unusual punishment to the trench, Mira said. But seriously, what is his deal? Does he not like Dad or something? Izuku asked. It's complicated, but he has tried various ways to beat All Might, and one of those ways was a quirk marriage. The poor woman he married was treated as nothing as breeding stock, and the only one to have both parents' quirks is your classmates. In a way I feel sorry for him since who his parents are, while in another way I'm not. Okay, so Endeavor is his father. Who is his mother? Izuku asked, making Mira sigh. Well, you would learn eventually who it is, Mira said, but for now you need to get ready for the fight. Okay, Izuku said. It's time for the quarterfinals of the first-year tournament. Round 1 is Izukumidoriya versus shototodoroki, Present Mike shouted as the two teens walked out into the arena. Now we will see who is stronger, Todoroki said, and I will beat you only using my mother's quirk. And I will use the abilities given to me by my father, Izuku said. Begin, Midnight shouted as Todoroki stomped the ground, creating spikes of ice. Izuku rolled to the side and grabbed some ice and threw it at Todoroki before rolling along the floor and performed a pop-up attack, making Todoroki stumble. Todoroki growled as he shot ice out at Izuku, who took the attack, since he was able to withstand the pressure and chill of deep waters, meaning Todoroki's ice was nothing but a cold breeze to him. Grabbing a couple more of the ice spikes, Izuku used this as batons to smack Todoroki around the arena. Give it up, Izuku shouted, or at least fight me with everything you have, Izuku shouted as he gripped the ice so hard it broke. Todoroki put his hand up to conjure more ice when Izuku threw the shards of broken ice at him, embedding them in his hand. Wincing at the pain, Todoroki pulled the ice out and threw them to the ground. Gripping his hand, Todoroki quickly fumed as a flicker of flames shot out of his other hand. Keep it together, Todoroki said. Come on then, you feeling weak? You're only using half of your power, Izuku taunted. You want my full power? Fine, I'll give it to you, Todoroki, setting his hand ablaze. Up in the stands, Endeavor was ecstatic at the fact Todoroki was using his fire quirk, while Mira looked on nervously. Finally, Izuku said as he clutched his fist, Let's do this. Todoroki shot a stream of flames at Izuku, who jumped and rolled to get around him. Once Todoroki stopped, he covered his fist in flames and threw a punch at Izuku, who blocked it but got a slight burn on his arm. He knew what he had to do. So you finally have unlocked your full power, a power which is not his but yours, Izuku said, so use it like it is originally yours and not one given to by someone else, Izuku said. Like you know what's that like, Todoroki said. I know that one's quirk is their own, despite who gave it to them, Izuku said. Shut up, Todoroki snapped, releasing a massive fireball which created an explosion. Are you okay? The bodyguard asked, looking around, only to hear choking, Your Highness, he said as he pulled out a bottle of water, giving it to Mira, who drank it quickly. He dried the air by superheating it, Mira said. If the air is that hot up here, that means, the bodyguard said. No, Mira feared as she looked down to see Izuku on his knees. We have to help him, the bodyguard said. No, we can't, not now, Mira said. Todoroki was still standing thanks to his ice abilities. He could feel the superheated air. He noticed that Midnight was struggled to stay upright, even ripping HR costume's sleeves off. He looked around for his opponent, only to hear gasping. Turning to the noise, it was only then that Todoroki had found Izuku gasping for air. Help, Izuku, Barley said. Why should I? Todoroki said. I could end this match right now. In fact, I will, he said, covering Izuku in a small glacier of ice while absorbing some of the ambient heat in the air, cooling it down. There, that should cool you off. he said before looking at Midnight, who, while still feeling the lingering heat in the air, was about to nod when she saw something. This thing caused Todoroki to turn around just in time to see Izuku break out of the ice surrounding him. Todoroki went wide eyes out of shock, before it became anger. "Thanks for that. I needed it," Izuku said, biting into a large shard of ice, crunching it up and swallowing it before throwing the uneaten half away. "That's not possible," Todoroki growled. "My body is built to handle the coldest parts of the ocean. You think a bit of ice will stop me? Plus you basically covered me in solidified water." Dumbass, Izuku said as he stretched. "Now allow me to return the favor," Izuku said, making a staff out of the ice and started to spin it, making a circle of water appear, which he then used to fling Todoroki towards out of bound, which was prevented by Todoroki creating an ice barrier. Looking up, Todoroki went wide-eyed as he saw Izuku in front of him. "Now to quote my second favorite hero, smash," he shouted, punching Todoroki through the ice barrier and out of bounds. "Winner by knockout, izukumidoriya curry," Midnight shouted as Izuku collapsed onto one knee and raised his fist to the sky before collapsing. "Okay, now we will take a 20-minute break for arena repair. That's going to be fun." "Izuku," Momo shouted as she burst into the changing, only to stop and blush when she saw Izuku without a shirt on. Momo blushed while giving him a quick once-over. "Fair's fair, I guess," Izuku said, grabbing an orange sleeveless shirt with teal along the shoulders. "You enjoy the view?" Yes I did," Momo said, "but more importantly, are you okay?" "I am, just some minor burns on my arms," Izuku said, showing Momo his arms. "I'll get some bandages," Momo said. "Don't worry, that box on the table has some in it," Izuku said as Momo opened the tin and saw that there was water in the box. Taking out the bandages, she noticed that they were actually seaweed. "Seaweed?" Momo asked. "Yeah, they actually help out natural healing," Izuku said as Momo shrugged and started to wrap the seaweed around his forearms and then pulled on a pair of leather bracers over top of them to keep the wrappings in place. "Thank you," he said, kissing her cheek. "You're welcome," she said, smiling softly as the pair left the ready room. "There you are," Mina said happily. "Good job out there," Kirishima said. "Thanks you guys, so who's up to fight next?" Izuku said. "Cassie and Ida," Uraraka said. "How are you feeling?" Izuku asked. "I'm better now, thank you," Uraraka smiled. "That's good to hear. But how do you think this match is going to go down?" Izuku asked. "Not sure," Kirishima shrugged. "Okay, quarterfinal 2, Cassie Sandsmark versus Tenya Ida, ready begin," Midnight shouted. "Sorry cowboy," Cassie said as she flew at Ida, who dodged her, "but I'm dealt with Speedster before." "So I've heard," Ida said as he ran back at Cassie, who threw her arm up at neck level, making Ida fly up into the air before crash into the arena floor. He got up, only for Cassie to smack her bracelets together, knocking Ida out. "Ida?" she asked, nudging him with her foot. "Ida?" she asked louder, softly kicking her opponent. Medic." "Winner via quick knockout, Cassie Sandsmark," Midnight shouted. "That was over quickly," All Might said from the stands. "Oh great, I'm up next," Mina said. "You'll do great honey," Kirishima said, kissing her cheek as she walked down into the arena. Tokoyami walked over to the other side and bowed. "Quarterfinal 3, Mina Ashido vs Fumikage Tokoyami, begin," Midnight shouted as Mina gathered acid in her hands before throwing it at Tokoyami, who had Dark Shadow avoid them before knocking Mina back a bit before she threw some more acid, only to be tied up by Dark Shadow. "Had enough yet?" Tokoyami asked. "Not even close," Mina said before splashing the sentient shadow with acid, only to be flung away when the shadow recoiled. "Ring out winner Fumikage Tokoyami," Midnight said. "Drats," Mina said, huffing while crossing her arms. "That majorly sucks," Kirishima said, "but it's my turn now," he said. "Good luck man," Kaminari said. "Thanks bro," Kirishima said, fist bumping his friend. "Hey wanna," a certain asshole cried. "Monoma, you better put your head over the other side of that divider, otherwise I will find a way to make sure the snort of a shark will be firmly lodged up your ass the next time you take a shit," Izuku said, making Monoma pale before backing down. "Hey, can you actually do that?" Kendo asked. "Don't know, but I would like to see if I can," Izuku chuckled. Quarterfinal 4, Ijiro Kirishima vs Katsuki Bakugou, begin, Midnight shouted as Kirishima guarded his right side from Bakugou's opening move, only to feel a kick to the left. Thank Deku for that move, Bakugou smirked before he created an explosion in Kirishima's face. Luckily Kirishima used his quirk to toughen up his skin. Once the explosion cleared, Kirishima held his hand out like a knife and hardened it, turning it into a sharp blade, allowing him to swipe at Bakugou, who jumped back, barely avoiding Kirishima's strike. The attack scratched Bakugou's cheek, making the blonde growl. So he slowly exhaled and inhaled. "Time to die, Spikehead," Bakugou shouted as he rushed over to his friend and started to unleash explosion after explosion before Kirishima was barely standing. Smiling Kirishima just fell backward. "Winner by knockout, Katsuki Bakugou," Midnight declared as Bakugou helped Kirishima get to a medical stretcher. One step closer to facing you and beating you, Deku," Bakugou smirked as Izuku who nodded back. "Okay, so this it, we have 2 more round of the tournament rounds," Izuku said. "So who is the fighters?" Uraraka asked. "Me, Izuku, Bakugou and Tokoyami," Cassie said. "And the matchups are?" Momo asked. "We're about to find out," Izuku said. "All right then," Tokoyami said. "Ladies and gentlemen, the rounds for the semi-finals will be decided now," Midnight shouted as the 4 fighters were scrambled up before they were paired up before they were revealed. "That's going to be interesting," Momo said. "Yeah, it will be," Izuku thought. "Okay, first semi-final is Izukumidoriya Curry versus Fumikage Tokoyami. Begin," Midnight said as Tokoyami and Dark Shadow rushed forward. Izuku stood his ground as Dark Shadow rammed into him, making him skid back a bit. Acting quickly, Izuku restrained Dark Shadow, who was struggling. Looking up, Izuku saw Tokoyami was above him. Smirking, Izuku jumped out of the way just in time for Dark Shadow to smack into Tokoyami, making them tumbled on the floor. Izuku then stood up just in time to see Dark Shadow coming at him. Izuku timed it so he dodged out of the way, making it easier for him to run at Tokoyami, who quickly withdrew Dark Shadow to block Izuku's punch, which hurt Dark Shadow a bit. Tokoyami growled before he ran at Izuku himself, hoping to slide past him and trip him up with Dark Shadow. Once Izuku tasted the floor, the quarter Atlantean growl. "Cheap shot," Izuku said as he jumped back up and rolled his shoulders. "But it worked," Tomoyami smirked before he had Dark Shadow attacked again. But Izuku thought about it and jumped back each attack of Dark Shadow, leading him around the arena until he was in line with Tokoyami. "Nice try," Tokoyami said, smirking as Izuku rolled to the side as Dark Shadow shot past him. Izuku then smacked Dark Shadow into the ground, making Tokoyami fly around the arena and into Dark Shadow. Izuku simply got up, reared his leg back, and not so gently booted Tokoyami in the backside out of the ring. "Ring out winner Izukumidoriya Curry," Midnight shouted. "How humiliating," Tokoyami muttered. "Izukumidoriya Curry is through to the grand final of the tournament," Midnight said. "No way," Cassie said. "Good work out there, Izuku," Ida said. "Thanks, Ida, it was nothing," Izuku said. "Don't sell yourself too short, Midoriya," Ida said. "No, I mean it was probably my easiest fight so far, and my next one. Well, that remains to be seen how difficult it will be," Izuku said, looking as the matchup was announced as Ida's phone rang. "Hello, Mother, how are you doing?" What do you mean? Is he okay?" "The hospital." "Which one? I'll head over now." "It's okay, I'm finished for the day," Ida said. What could have happened, Izuku thought. "It seems my brother was badly injured while facing down a new villain," Ida said. "Go, I'll cover for you with the teachers," Izuku said. "Thank you, my friend," Ida said as he took off. "Everything okay with him?" Cassie asked. "No, his brother was attacked," Izuku said. "Do they know who did it?" Cassie asked. "A new villain that's just shown up recently," Izuku said. "Do you know which one?" Cassie asked. "No, I don't. Anyway, good luck and watch out. The moment Kaken thinks he's losing, he'll get angrier than usual," Izuku advised. "I'll take that into consideration," Cassie said. The next semi-final will be Cassie Sandsmark versus Katsuki Bakugou. "Ready, begin," Midnight shouted as Cassie rushed over to Bakugou, ducking under the twin explosions right in front of her face, punching him in the stomach before rolling into a sweeping kick. Bakugou growled before blasting the floor to send him up into the air. Cassie frowned, so she flew up to where Bakugou was, only to get blasted back into the arena by a surprise move. Bakugou landed and grabbed Cassie's gym top, which earned a flip over her shoulders and a kick in the ribs. "Watch the shirt," she said as she was going to bring her bracers together, only for Bakugou's hand to block them, shocking Cassie, giving Bakugou enough time to blast Cassie back. "Asshole." "So what are you going to do now?" Bakugou asked. "Why don't you come over here and find out?" Cassie said. "Fine then," Bakugou said as he did an uppercut while using his explosive quirk. Smirking as the smoke cleared revealed that Cassie's top was damaged, revealing her red lacy bra, making her blush. "Hey, what did I say about the shirt?" Cassie shouted, charging at Bakugou, holding her arm out so it hit his throat, making him hit the ground hard. Cassie looked behind her, panting before brushing her hair back, and then walked over to him and was about to punch him when his boot connected to her stomach, giving him time to get up and land on his feet, turning around and put HSI hands out, giving him a chance to blast Cassie, only to have it be blocked by her bracelets. "Game over," Cassie said as she tapped her bracelets together, making a small shockwave, making Bakugou fly into the ground. "Winner Cassie Sansmark," Midnight shouted happily. "Beach," Bakugou grunted. "Loser," Cassie smiled cheekily. "Oh great, he's facing Cassie," the bodyguard said. "It could be worse," Mira said. "How?" the bodyguard asked. "He could be facing down his best friend," a gruff voice said. "Arthur, what are you doing here?" Mira asked as her husband sat down. "I was getting sick of that summit, plus it was cancelled," Arthur said. "Why?" Mira asked. "A Collins-class submarine, the different advisors discuss it and decided to cancel the event until a later date," Arthur said. "I see," Mira said. "Well, this will be an interesting matchup," a woman said. "Diana, what are you doing here?" Arthur asked happily. "My niece is in the final round against you, son. Of course I would be here, but I'm here for another reason," Diana said. "Which is?" Arthur asked. "Members of the Gotham Rogues were attacked by our current targets," Diana said. "How bad?" Arthur asked. "One of them is in life-threatening condition, but also advanced robotics were found on site. These were handed over to Dr. Sela Stone, who is currently in the Hasu Star Labs facility with the victim," Diana said. "I see," Arthur said. "So you ready about this?" Cassie asked as she jumped on the spot. "Depends. Ready to lose?" Izuku said. "Try not to get too cocky," Cassie said. "It's time for the final round, where the winner of this match will take the entire tournament. So let's get ready to rumble, as it's Izukumidoriya Curry versus Cassie Sansmark," Present Mike shouted from the announcer's booth. "Now I know it shouldn't be said, but I want a nice clean fight, okay? Which means no going for the clothes on purpose, no underhanded attacks, no hair pulling, no biting, and have fun," Midnight said. "You got," the two said. "Now begin," Midnight said as the two fighters jumped at each other, Cassie throwing a punch, which Izuku dived to the side before launching a kick into Cassie's side, making the two land roughly on the arena. Cassie got up first and rushed at Izuku, who barely recovered and was forced to dodge to the side, only to get back up and throw a fist into Cassie's face, making her wobble a fair bit. "Oh, it's on," Cassie said as she adopted a boxer's stance. Izuku dropped into an Atlantean fighting stance. The two teenagers started to close in before using their respective fighting styles to knock each other around the arena. The occasional throw was added in by Izuku, who received sweeps for his trouble. Cassie jumped into the air and flipped, holding her foot out for a hammer kick, which Izuku quickly caught and slammed her into the ground. Being winded, Cassie stood up and held her side. Izuku gave off a cheeky smirk. "Come on then," Izuku said as he acted with a flash step-styled move to get in close and delivered a series of quick punch and a kick, making Cassie recoil. "Is that all you got?" Cassie asked, performing a high jump kick and an elbow to the stomach, knocking him back a bit. Then she went in with a low sweep which chained into an uppercut. Izuku stumbled back, wiping a small amount blood of his face. Smirking, he gripped his hands again, rushing in to attack Cassie, who blocked the attacks with her arms. Izuku knew what she was trying to do, so he eased off a bit and waited for the moment Cassie went for a signature move. Upon smashing her bracelets together, Cassie launched Izuku into the air, only then used it to his advantage. Cassie realized her error too late as Izuku was spinning in the air until he was close to her and brought his foot down on her shoulder. "Title breaker," he shouted as she went down. It was revealed she was on the ground in a small crater. She groaned as she just laid there. Shit, I yield, Cassie said before the crowd exploded. Winner by knockout Izukumidoriya Curry, present Mike shouted as Izuku just punched the sky. My man, was heard from somewhere in the crowd as confetti and cheers rained down. Wow, that was crazy, Izuku said. No kidding, Cassie said. You did well out there, Takoyami said. I agree, Cassie said as All Might landed in front of them. Fumikage Takoyami, you tried your best out there, however you still have a lot to learn, All Might said, hanging a bronze medal around his neck, before he turned to Cassie, Cassandra Sandsmark. Even though you have only been with us a week, you have shown that you have what it takes to be a hero, however only relaying on one move can and will get you into trouble, so I recommend trying to use and make your own set of moves, All Might said. You got it, sir, Cassie smiled as the silver medal was placed around her neck. Then it was Izuku's turn. Izukumidoriya Curry, you have shown a multitude of skills out there today: courage, adaptability, leadership, tactical thinking, determination, and honesty. I think that no matter what path you choose, hero or king, you will be great at whatever you choose. As your teacher, I am proud of you, All Might said, giving Izuku his gold medal. Thank you, All Might, Izuku said, smiling as he bowed. Your top 3 first years? Let's give them a round of applause and a hearty All Might started. Plus Ultra, everyone cheered, making Izuku embarrassed, only to be knocked out by a simple peck on the cheek from Cassie. Mustn't be used to being kissed by a pretty girl, Cassie smiled. This is going to be an interesting year, All Might shook his head, making Midnight giggle. Meanwhile, elsewhere, Volko was walking on a moonlit beach. So you're the one who's asked for me, a man asked. I am, Volko said. So what do you require of me, the man asked. I've heard rumors of you taking a contract to kill my king's son, Volko said. Yeah, $5 million, the man said. Then I wish to hire you to protect the king's son, Volko said, throwing him a sack of coins. Gold coins, the man asked. That is Spanish gold. Just one of those gold coin went for $225,000. You're joking? The man asked. I'm not, and there is $22.5 million in that sack, Volko said. $22.5 million, that is nearly 5 times as much I'm being paid to kill him, so you have my attention, and my services, the man said as he taped a black and orange helmet-like mask. It had been 5 days since Izuku won the UA Sports Festival Tournament first-year division, meaning he had 4 days of rest while being able to watch the second and third year before the mandatory 2-day break for each student, meaning that all students get 4 days off during the festival no matter what year level they were in. And another thing that happened was that the rate they were recognized had increased as well. But at the moment Izuku was walking in the rain. He didn't bring an umbrella since, being a quarter Atlantean Met, he couldn't be affected by either the water of the rain. So he had a special set of rain clothes which included the orange sleeveless shirt with green stripes on the shoulders. He also wore black pants as well. Come on, Midoriya, we'll be late for class, Ida said. But we're 5 minutes early, Izuku said, running beside his friend. As students of UA, we must strive to be 10 minutes early, Ida said. You are a strange one, Ida, Izuku said as he went to change into his dry uniform. Hey, about your brother. It's all right, he's alive, and that's all that matters at the moment, Ida said. Just make sure that you don't go looking for revenge, Izuku said as he walked off. I have a bad feeling about this. All right, settle down, Aizawa said, making the class settle down. Good, now I know that we just had the festival, but that doesn't mean we can slack off, Aizawa said, so that is why today we have a lesson on heroic informatics. Oh crap, the students groaned. What is it going to be, heroic law or ethics? Kirishima mentally asked. Don't let it be a pop quiz, Kaminari begged. Today Aizawa started. You'll be picking your superhero code names, Midnight announced, making Aizawa glare at her. Oh, quit being a sourpuss, Midnight said. Anyway, picking a codename is important since it will be used while you are doing hero work. Now these codenames will also be worked into pro hero draft picks. Usually students in their first year don't have to worry about them, but since your class is special, offers have been extended to you as well, which means heroes are investing in your potential as heroes. Any offers can be rescinded if they lose interest in you before you graduate, Aizawa said. So we still have to prove what we can do after we are recruited, Hagakure asked. Very much so, Midnight said. Now where are the totals for those who got offers? Aizawa said, revealing the amount of offers. The leaders were Izuku, Cassie, Todoroki, Bakugou, Ida, Kirishima, Yurakaka and Yaoyorozu. As you can see, the top offers have more of a selection than those at the bottom. People want us, Uraraka said, shaking Ida. Izuku got the most. That's surprising, along with Cassie, Gyro said. What about the real star, moi? Aoyama said. You didn't even place top 8, Cassie said. That's amazing, you're probably proud, Momo said. Most of them are probably because of my father, but I'm surprised about Midoriya, Todoroki said. How do I have that many? Izuku asked. I agree, Bakugou said. Despite these results, you'll all be interning with pros. Got it? Aizawa asked. Even those of you who didn't get any offers can still intern, which is good since you have combat experience against Black Manta and the Dark Reef. But they aren't the only ones out there who are organizing villains into groups, Midnight said, so it will do you all some good to see how pro heroes work up close and personal in the field. And for that we need hero names, Sato said. Indeed, Midnight said. Now these code names could be temporary, so take them seriously. Or you'll be given hell for them. Now some of them can stick for the rest of your life. But be careful, otherwise you'll be stuck with something inappropriate for the rest of your life, Midnight said. She has a point. Now, as to why Midnight is here, she'll have final approval of your choices since it isn't my forte, Aizawa said. You were given yours by Present Mike, Midnight said. And I don't think I can reveal where you got yours from, Aizawa said, slipping into his sleeping bag. A code name helps reinforces your image while showing what kind of hero you want to be. Take All Might, for example. All Might Izuku thought I need a codename that embodies the sort of hero I want to be, he mused as he remembered something from his time in Atlantis. Who are they, mama? A young Izuku pointing at a statue of a group of warriors. Those are the Sea Knights, brave warriors who defended Atlantis from any harm that came from either the surface or the deeper seas. It is them who we have to thank for the home we currently have, Mira said, holding onto his hand. Can I be one of them? Izuku asked, making Mira laugh. If you want to be, then I don't see why not, Mira said. Yay, Izuku cheered. Prince Deku, the Sea Knight, Mira said. A Sea Knight, that's pretty cool, Aquaman said, swimming over. You think I can do it? Izuku asked. If you work hard, you can be anything you want to be, Aquaman said, placing Izuku on his shoulder. I guarantee it, he smiled. Okay, so who's first to share? Midnight asked. What? We're presenting these? Kirishima blanched. Who has the balls to go first? Zero asked as Aoyama walked up to the stage. Hold your breath. I am the shining hero. I cannot stop twinkling, Aoyama said. You can't deny my sparkle. Delusional much? Cassie asked. It will better like this. Take out the I and shorten the cannot to can't, Midnight said. Stunning, Madam, Aoyama said as he took his name card and sat down. She liked that one, the class thought. Plus, are you seriously French, or just putting on an accent? Cassie said. Next, Midnight said. I'll next. My code name is Alien Queen, Mina excitedly said. What? Like that movie creature with the acidic blood? Nope, try again, Midnight said. Dang it, Mina said cutely. That one wasn't okay. So since the first two were so weird, I have to think of something clever now, the class though. Ribbit, I think I have one, Sui said. Can I come on up next? Come on up then, Midnight said. I've been saving this one since middle school. The rainy season hero Froppy, Sui said. That's delightful. It makes you sound approachable. What a good example of a name everyone will love, Midnight said, making the class cheer. Froppy, Froppy, Froppy. He's mine, the sturdy hero. My name is Red Riot, Kirishima said, going next. Red Riot, huh? That wouldn't be a homage to the chivalrous Crimson Riot, would it? Midnight asked. Yeah, it is, since he's my hero, even though he may be a bit old school, Kirishima said. If you are bearing the name of someone you admire, you have that much more to live up to. I accept the challenge, Kirishima said. What should I choose for a name? Kaminari asked. What about jamming, yay? His crush said. Oh, you mean like that guy Hemingway who wrote the novel A Farewell to Arms, right? Kaminari asked. Nope, it's because since you're so powerful you're always jamming your brain, Gyro laughed as she got out. "Come on, Gyro, quit screwing with me," he shouted. "The hearing hero, I'm Earphone Jack," Gyro said. "Now that's a good one," Midnight said. "I'm the tentacle hero," Tentacle Shoji said. "Oh, I like what you're doing with that. A nice portmanteau picturing how he got his name from tentacle plus octopus taco." "I'm the taping hero," Cellophane Zero said. "That's on the nose. Good work," Midnight said. "The martial arts hero," Tailman Ajo said. "No surprise with that one, I guess," Midnight said. "I'm the sweets hero," Sugarman Sato said. "Perfect," Midnight smiled. "Acidic hero, Pinky," Mina shouted. "Make those looks work for you, girl," Midnight cheered. "The stun gun hero, Chargeabolt," Kaminari cheered. "Makes me all tingly," Midnight smiled. "The stealth hero, Invisible girl," Toru said. "That really suits you," Midnight said. "So who's next?" "I hope I can live up to this name," the everything hero, Creative Momo said. "Creative," Midnight said. Shototodoroki said. "For now anyway," Todoroki said. "Your own name, huh? Okay, if you're sure," Midnight said. Jet Black hero, Tsukiyomi Takoyami said. "Ah, God of the Night," Midnight said a bit too excitedly. "Why not? I'm the Amazon Wonder Girl," Cassie said. "How wondrous," Midnight said before Koda held up a sign which said, "Petting Hero Anima." "Yep, all about it." "King Explosion Murder," Bakugou said, making Izuku facepalm. "That one is a little too violent. Back to the naming board with that one," Midnight said, making Bakugou grumble as he took his seat while Uraraka got up. "This is the name I thought of, Uravity," she said nervously. "What a lovely name," Midnight said before looking at the clock. "Choosing names is going swimmingly. The only ones left are Bakugou, who needs to think about his, Ida and Midoriya as well," Midnight said as Ida was thinking about his brother. "Tenya, I didn't want to say this yesterday, but I can't feel my legs. They've become useless," Tenchi said. "What, no way," Ida gasped. "Yeah, the hero Ingenium is finished. That is why I want you to take up the name Ingenium," Tennessee said. "No, you have too many people to save and inspire for this to be true," Ida said. "Well, then you will have to do that for me," Tenchi said before. "I'm sorry, that's just the way things are," he added before falling asleep. Ida started to write Ingenium before he erased it and wrote down his own name. "You're using your real name too?" "Okay, Midoriya, your turn," Midnight said. "Sure," Izuku said as he showed his name off. "This is my code name, the noble hero, Aqua Knight," Izuku said. "A noble name, but I have to ask, I understand that the Aqua comes from your father, but where does the Knight come from?" Midnight said. "An old Atlantean legend about the Sea Knights, a group of warriors that protected Atlantis, and when I was a kid, I wanted to be something like them," Izuku said. "Very interesting. Now Bakugou, you turn again." "Lord Explosion Murder," Bakugou said. "That's basically the same thing," Midnight deadpanned. "Fine. What about this?" Bakugou said, writing something down. "Napalm." "Napalm? Huh, I didn't think you would use a pun for a name. But I guess it will do for now," Midnight said. "Now that you have your code names, we can go back to your internships. They will last 1 week. As for who you are working for, those with offers on the board will have to pick from that list. Everyone else will have a different list. You all have a lot to think about, as there are 40 across the country that have agreed to have you as interns for them. Each agency has a different speciality that they have chosen to focus on. Keep that in mind when your choice. Imagine you were 13. You would want to choose a place that has a rescue focus. Understand?" Midnight asked after stretching. "Think carefully before choosing," Aizawa said. "So who should I go with?" Izuku asked. "Well, most of the offers you have are either aquatic-focused or combat-focused. So what are you going to pick?" Cassie said, walking next to him. "I'm not sure. What about you?" Izuku asked, noticing that Cassie had paused. "What is it?" "Check your 50-second choice," Cassie said. "Okay, 52, 52, 52, ah, here it is. Are you kidding me? He's offered to take me as an intern," Izuku said. "Me too, so what do you say?" Cassie asked. "I say we should do it," Izuku smiled. So alright folks, that's all for today. Stay tuned for part 3. Do subscribe, like and share for more such videos. Also check out the story and author Autistic-Grizzly on FANFICTIONnet. Press the bell icon to be notified first on release. See you in the next video. Till then, goodbye.